Oh man. Okay. Well,
How you been, man?
I've been good. No, I've been good. I've been definitely under more mental stress than I'd like,
Yeah,
but it it's fine. Um,
but it's
it's fine.
fine.
Um,
Same.
I think it just comes with part and parcel of what I'm trying to do, and so I just
Hmm.
have to kind of like deal with it. Um,
Yeah.
Therapy's nice, but right now I think therapy is adding to the stress slightly.
You think so?
Yeah, well, because I know I have anxiety. I've talked about it with the therapist and everything
Right.
too, and I've talked about it on the podcast before. But we are we're trying this thing of not listening to the usual self improvement and or just like general
Mm.
information education podcasts and videos that I listen to and take notes over
Wow.
as ways to get any sort of micro learning in daily along with um just I enjoy it. It's just like
Yeah.
it's like as opposed to watching gaming videos, gaming streams, and just purely entertainment. It's like a form of learning for me. And then whatever insights I get from that, I can also share on the podcast. It's just like it's like a whole loop, a whole information feedback loop. And so you're kind of testing to see if that's adding to my any sort of perceived um, levels of anxiety. And so I'm
Right.
on a for the time being no self improvement podcast homework. Today I was just so bored.
You
It's been a
said
full
today
week of this
was.
now. I'm so bored. Like I don't know what to put on while I work. Like
It's
I put
so
on
funny when you
music
say
today
that.
while I work. I'm like,
Well,
bro, this
music
is
is nice. You
no,
said you
it's
have
so
a.
boring because I think it's because I get zero mental engagement from work.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
so I need something to engage my brain. Not even
Right.
like give it the dopamine rush, but like just I want to think.
Yeah.
I'm an overthinker, but I'm a thinker regardless. I want to think. I
But
want to do things.
it's funny because I've wondered about that. I've wondered if like for myself, like I felt like there's been times, well, I don't know, maybe last year when I did so much like productivity content and things like
Mm-hmm.
that maybe I got a little too in the weeds to the point to
Mm-hmm.
where I was distracting myself.
Mm.
I think that was something that happened with me. And then, I kind of took a break from it and I didn't know what to do with myself. And then this time around, like I've been watching some more of the content, but I think I wrote an that's so funny. I said this last time, but I think I wrote a note earlier that had something to do with like this process of like problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's just like, seasons. And I realize at some point, like a lot of that micro learning that I'm doing is just a type of stimulation. Um
Mm.
and I'm just equating any stimulation to like I'm putting them all on the even playing ground.
Yeah.
Like when do I need to be stimulated and when do I need to be like tapped in? Because I don't think
Mm-hmm.
they're the same kind of. I feel like there's some distinctions in when one isn't going on and the other is.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I'm wondering if when you say that you're taking like y'all are taking a break, from some of that
Yeah.
content, what was some of the what came up because of that? Like how did that come up to as a thing to do?
Okay, well I'm gonna answer this and I'm gonna ask you questions because we can't have this role reversal. I know you're used to hosting podcasts, but
Oh,
I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna make sure I get you to answer some questions after this.
but
But I will
before
answer
you
this.
do, before you do, if you have a list of questions and stuff like that, let me know. But I am asking this because I feel like if we're just going on the fly, like
Mm,
that will help me keep
no,
going. So
100%. No,
okay,
this
you can
is
go
just
your
supposed
thing.
to be a conversation regardless. So I know I
Okay.
love this because not often do people ask me questions, which is fine. But this is just fun. Um,
Okay.
but to your question, so essentially what happened, I can backtrack a little bit. I used to like 2022, 2023, 2021. I was big on productivity, micro
Mm-hmm.
learning, like podcasting. The whole reason why I enjoyed going on walks again was because I could listen to a podcast during them, right? I could
Right.
engage my brain while I'm physically moving, and that made me enjoy podcasts.
Right.
And but then it did get to the point where even last year or maybe the year before, like I would listen to podcasts while at the gym just because I want to listen to music. And so it's like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'm just like listening, I'm learning, and then I'm just pumping whatever weight I need to pump. It just felt nice. Um, I and so what happened was I thought the same thing you did. Okay, maybe I'm learning too much and not executing enough. So
Mm,
let me stop and execute. And so what I
mm-hmm.
did for the beginning of 24 throughout the summer of 24 was, okay, I'm just going to stop these podcasts, but then all I did was consume gaming streams, YouTube videos,
Mm,
etc. Like all I consumed was just entertainment
yeah.
when like cuz I already know that I consume a lot of things regardless. So
Right.
that part didn't slow down. It's just what I consumed then went back to the entertainment what it used to be. Um so but 2024 mentally, like January all the way through October was like one of the worst mental years for me, regardless. And so I got back into podcasting in October. I was like,
Yeah.
I just want to go back to learning again. Like, let me
Mm,
just, because listening to it makes me think, makes me self reflect, like, make me think,
mm-hmm.
does this apply to me? Does this not? Or this is an interesting way to think. I never thought about this insight. I never thought about this perspective, etc. And I like thinking those things, right? It makes me feel like I'm always doing something. But, you know,
That's where I'm at with it.
exactly. And
I'm listening to it now heavily. So yeah.
um so then I think where my therapist was getting was maybe a lot of that is also adding to anxiety in terms of I should always be improving. I should be adding something. I
Right.
should be doing this versus I want to
Mm-hmm.
do this. Or there was one that the most recent one I listened to before I stopped all of this stuff was Chris Williamson, Rhonda Patrick, and she was talking about BPAs, BPSs, how that stuff gets in your system, like microplastics, all that stuff. And I've seen those terms thrown around a lot, but never really listened to what the data is like and stuff like that. So I just gave it a listen, and I was like, okay, cool. This shit sucks. So
Mm-hmm.
in a just what I ended up doing was I just threw away all of our Tupperware plastic. I was like, we're not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Glassware, metalware, etc. That's just what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Um, but one thing led to another, etc. Regardless, I think they just wanted to see like, okay, does this actually like will this help the levels of like
It's
either
something to try
anxiety
out.
or
Yeah.
something to try out. And they said you're not stopping it forever. It's just for the time being. And when you add it back in, it's about having like a healthy balance.
Mm.
I just don't know what that balance was before, right?
Yeah,
So
and now you're like in a vacuum of like, what do I exactly do I want to do with my time? And so,
exactly, and I'm
yeah,
in a time vacuum, right? Because
yeah,
I don't fully I love reading, obviously, right? But I love reading
right,
fantasy books. I don't really love as much reading nonfiction, health self improvement books.
yeah,
There are a couple that I've bought that I want to read. I just haven't yet, but I love listening to those things, not instead of reading
yeah,
them.
right.
Um, and so now that I don't have that, it's like, what do I do with my ears? Like, what are my
Sorry.
ears doing while I'm doing this?
Yeah,
So that's kind of where I'm at.
yeah.
Is day 7 on this little cleanse, to say the least, and then just chipping away at the work. My goal this year, it's shifting a lot, but I think the best goal that I can have for myself is I just need to consistently upload a video a week, just to prove to
Yep,
myself you can be consistent for longer
yep,
than 3 months, for longer than this time, right? And then I can be like, okay, now why aren't we going anywhere? Where not now where's the growth going to be once you're consistent in what your output is, your quality, or whatever it is.
yeah.
That's where the mental stress has been lately. It's
That
just like,
makes a lot
yeah,
of sense. I mean, there's a well, I mean, we don't have to keep going all there, anyways. You have questions for me too, but that's I feel like I can relate to a lot of these things, like on a similar timeline, even, which is strange. But I'm definitely, and sorry if it's echoey, but
you're fine, you're
um,
fine.
I'm definitely in a place where I'm making sure that like I'm accepting myself and a lot and not critiquing myself because I found myself struggling with the ability to like balance like critiquing myself and taking my own criticism well, and critiquing myself and not taking it well.
Mhm.
um and I didn't know what the difference was. Like, is it what's that, like, what's the difference? Is it negative self-talk, or is it that I'm just not in a place where I really need to even be having self-criticism? Maybe
Yeah.
I should be enjoying something instead, or rejuvenating myself somehow else, instead of chiseling at myself consistently.
Mhm.
um like, and I don't know if that sounds like relative to you, but to me, that like, I felt like I found myself in a place of almost a lot of self-doubt, and like, I really wasn't feeling like, I wasn't feeling good about like what I think I should be doing and what I am doing.
Mhm.
And I had to try to figure that out, but I realized I wasn't being present. It always comes
Mhm.
down to being present. I feel like when I start to feel that way, and I don't know why it comes down to being present, but once I start being present, then I'm like, oh, maybe it's because maybe it's because I was taking for granted the things that are in front of me, and I wasn't experiencing joy as often as I should. Maybe I'm really not resting that much. Maybe I'm not justifying the fact that I even need rest. And instead, I'm just hyper focused on the fact that I should be doing X, Y, and Z because I said I would. And maybe I should accept the fact that I'm wrong about the plan I set up, and maybe I need to readjust the plan instead of just saying I'm not consistent. Maybe I'm not the variable. Maybe there is an actual outside variable. Maybe
Mhm.
humans aren't meant to be extremely stoic. Like,
Mhm.
so like, that's kind of, I'm kind of just like experimenting more with what like is realistic,
Mhm.
and surrendering to outside forces, and not thinking that I am literally like God and conquering everything.
Mhm.
So
Uh, for people
yeah.
listening now, just to lay the scene, now that we've you've gotten a little bit of taste of what conversations between me and Major are like.
Yeah.
Um, Last year, Major and I had in 2023. Major and I had a conversation that lasted almost 2 hours, and the footage was corrupted, so we couldn't even get that to you
Sad
guys.
day.
So this is the definitive first episode that Major and I have talked on, but um, I've talked about. I mentioned this to people in the past, like just friends of mine, that you're probably one of the only people that I can talk to that really gets it.
Mm,
Um, I don't.
I didn't know that.
There's less than five, less than how many I can count on my hand. People that I can talk to who actually get where I'm coming from when I say things,
Mm,
and in the same way, you also think and speak the same way I do. So the stuff that you just said went straight into my brain versus me even having to
mm,
process it. It was like that. I was like, I completely get what he's saying. I've been here before. I think I'm actually going here. So and he's already been here. So let me actually listen to what he's saying because what he has realized is the realization, maybe the realization I'm about to come to, and things like that. And so that's why I do I do appreciate our conversations more than most, but this is a podcast, so I love all my conversations. But I do love our podcast more than most, or
mm.
I love our talks more than most. To let's back it up a little bit
Right.
for people who maybe don't know you.
Right.
And I usually don't do introductions, so this is the only way I'll do an introduction. Is tell me where the name Major came from because I can't call you Zach. I rarely do. I call you Major, and that's how it is with most people in the dance scene now, or people who I met through the dance scene. But where did Major come from?
So it's funny you asked that. People always enjoy this story. I feel like maybe more than I do even. So I started dancing. Um, I always danced when I was younger. I tried to dance and things like that, but I moved to Dallas when I'm around 16 or so, and I make some friends and we start dancing. And they started a team called Minority Brothers Crew, and it felt kind of strange because I became a part of this team, and I thought to myself, well, I don't want to come off unaware of myself
Mm-hmm.
here, because I'm definitely not a minority. In fact, I am a majority. I am the majority.
Yeah.
And I also thought the name Major was kind of could be cool. Like, it's a cool adjective at the time. This is like 2012 or something. No, not
Mm-hmm.
even, maybe 2013. And so I was, I think you're supposed to get your nicknames and your dance names from other people, but I sort of came up with Major, but they liked it, and so they kept calling me Major. It was Charlie and Tommy.
Mm,
Kept calling me Major, and that was from then on. I signed up at all the battles shortly after that as Major, and everyone just called me Major. But it is solely because I'm white.
mhm. All right.
Yeah,
I like
that's
it.
pretty much it.
I like it.
And I like that. I do like that later on. I think like maybe 8 years go by, 10 years go by, and people start saying major in songs a lot more. Like that's like
Mm-hmm.
the Young Doll song, and Major Key with DJ
Mm-hmm.
Khaled, and like people were saying like I do it major. That was like the original way that I was thinking about having had used
Mm.
it. Although it's not like I was saying that, but that's
I
it.
I always thought it was like the noun, like a major versus the adjective. So that's
And
interesting.
it's funny. When you're coming up with names for things and you
Mm-hmm.
wonder like, but what if people think this
Yeah.
instead?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was like, man. What if people just think this is like military related?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a few people did, and I've heard
Mm-hmm.
that a couple times, but nope, not at all.
That's
Which
fair.
probably only added to the whiteness of it all. So
Yep. That's fair. So so then so then fast forward after that. Um, when did you start when did you start recording? When did you start videography? Like when did you get a camera in your hand?
so I mean, I guess 20. I think I lied about the name. It was around 2011. I remember now because I had the NBC tattoo and it says 2010.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you probably don't know if you can see all that, but anyways, so maybe 20. I graduated in 2013 from high school, and then in 2014, um, I discovered credit and make my first purchases on credit by going to cons, and they allow me to finance a camera and a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I always wanted cameras. Growing up, I realized like, we didn't cameras aren't, especially when you're younger, cameras weren't very cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And I just always wanted a camera. I was fascinated with the idea of being able to capture like some sort of visual thing and
Mm-hmm.
then keep it and put it somewhere and do
Mm-hmm.
something with it. And especially video. I thought like I loved movies. Movies scenes always stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do like little parkour stuff. I don't know, man. But I remember I bought in high school, I bought like a flip camera on eBay when I first got a job. At some point I upgraded to like some little point and shoot that got maybe stolen or something. And then
Mm-hmm.
someone gave me like a camcorder because they saw me filming all the time and they never used theirs. I was like, oh, that's freaking cool. Yeah. And after the camcorder, I created like majors battles and I started going to all the dance competitions, filming all the battles and put them up on YouTube. It's Major Battles TV on YouTube is still up. Like people still go
Nice.
and watch those battles all the time. Like I'll go if I hang out with the homies, they'll pull it up. Um, I'm still
That's
getting
dope.
subscribers. I don't even know the login. Yeah. But again, this is all like right before the end of high school. High school ends. I get my first vehicle. I get, and I, it's not a good vehicle. It's a beater. I get my camera, and my laptop on credit, and then, I'm just like already been filming dance stuff and people hit me up. They're like, "Oh, I see you have like you're." They see me posting my own dance videos, and I'm like figuring out how to use a Windows Movie Maker. And then I
Mm-hmm.
have Sony Vegas Pro pirated at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And long story short, people started asking me, "Hey, can you make a video for me? $50 here, $50 there." I think Gina Driven was my first client. I
Yeah.
filmed her heels classes for $50. And then I had Ramon, and then John moved out of town
Mm-hmm.
and I like took over all his clients here. I was not ready to do that. I didn't know what I was
Mm.
doing. And yeah, it was Major Productions that I launched shortly after that, after I got a camera, and then it turned to Major Vibes like a handful of years later,
Yep.
and yeah, yeah, the rest is history. 2014 was the beginning.
Interesting. So what did you do then when you didn't feel ready? Just kind of did it. What happened? What happened then?
When I didn't feel ready,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. I'm calling back. I felt no, in the moment, um, whether or not I was ready never crossed my mind. I was completely naive about what it took to do anything in life.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand how the world worked. I didn't understand how money moved. I still
Mm-hmm.
thought that when you got loans, it's because you needed money and someone was helping you out, the
Yep.
bank, right? I thought loans were for poor people to like, but like I didn't understand, you know what I mean? So when I say I wasn't ready, yeah, in hindsight, dude, I was just some dude with like a little Canon Rebel T5i,
Mm-hmm.
um, and and with my eyes wide, and I just wanted to do it all. I had no idea what I was doing. I got a second job after my dad had to move back to Lubbock, and I
Mm-hmm.
was staying with a friend on his couch. And then, he went to the military and his mom remarried. And I was like, where am I going? I moved in with a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like this whole time, the only thing I ever did consistently was dance and make videos.
Mm.
So like, it wasn't a matter of whether or not I was ready. Like, man, I was just doing the one foot in front of another. I was just
Mm-hmm.
doing the next thing. So yeah, only until shit started to hit the fan.
Yeah.
I started to like would make certain kinds of mistakes. A video wouldn't come out good, and I couldn't understand why. Why are the
Mm-hmm.
color? I didn't know. Then I discovered the colors look bad. The white balance is bad. I need
Yeah.
better lighting. The audio is not good here.
Yeah.
How to use a microphone? Oh, I'm late on like every project.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm like, and also I'm not making any money. Like, how do people?
Yep.
And I start seeing these videos. People make a lot of money doing this stuff. I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. How are they doing that? And I'm
Yeah.
like, actually, it got to a point where people. I'm sorry, I'm long winded, but
No, no,
it.
continue.
I think this is when I really started getting in my head with about whether or not I'm ready to be taking on clients. It
Mm-hmm.
was way down in my like way further along in my
Mm-hmm.
videography career. Um, I really spent from 2014 to 2020-ish,
Mm-hmm.
2021-ish, just I mean, just white knuckling and just holding on for dear life,
Yeah.
just literally working and just going. Um, and not making much money. But yeah, in 2021, I realized like I don't know what I'm doing. I've been doing this since 2014, and I still don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's loud, I can pause for a
You're
second.
fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it.
Um, anyways, all I'm trying to say is, yeah, in 2021, I definitely realized I didn't know what I was doing. I'm I'm just I need to figure out how people really make a living off of this, how the people actually make a business. Why would
Mm-hmm.
someone that's what it was. People were paying me a little bit more to do videos, more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm like, why though? What am I really doing for them? This
Yeah.
is just a cool video. This is just a cool video.
Yeah.
Like, actually, how can I sell something that someone doesn't need? Like, I was like, why do people need video? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, obviously people do somehow. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
commercials, there's movies, there's lots of money to be made. I just don't get it though. I
Yeah.
had no idea. And I really think that's when my entrepreneurial mind, my marketing mind really started to take off
Mm.
in about 2021. That's when I also realized I didn't know anything and I wasn't ready. And I had been doing this for 7 years. And I
Yeah.
was kind of like in my head about it. I'm like, the people started 2 years ago and they're living off of it. I just don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
why am I so slow?
Yep.
That's what I thought to myself.
Ooh. Wow. Um. I see that a lot online right now. Where not
Mm-hmm.
now, like around the time when even you were talking about, right, where people were coming out with like their online courses and doing all these like social media short form videos and saying, "Yeah, this is how you do this for this." And the same question crossed my mind of like, why would someone pay this person? What videos is somebody making that they need this person's like course for, their expertise for? And then I think it was in 2022 that I had recently gotten a little bit back into Jay Shetty's like podcast and his like
Mm-hmm.
his whole thing. And his whole thing is being a life coach, right? Along with the
Yeah.
podcast, he's a life coach. And I just, that was around the time that I was also like, is taxes for me? Do I really want to be a tax professional? All these things, right? I didn't know.
Right.
So I just kind of was just looking around at other things, and I'm one of the most risk averse people you will ever meet.
That's tough,
I
man.
don't take risks, and so
Mm-hmm.
even thinking about what do I want to do in life, it would have had to be what can I do in tandem with what I'm doing now, because I can't just stop what I'm doing now and try something else like without the continuous income stream and a steady job, etc. I just can't do that, and so I was looking into like the first thing I was looking to the life coach thing, and I was like, why would somebody pay somebody else this? And then it turned into, even if I went through this course, why would somebody pay me to be a life coach? Like, what value would I even provide to somebody? Which is funny because whenever you read like the marketing emails that come out and whatever, like the whole like email list and like the mailing
Yeah.
list, you'll see on there, why would, like, have you ever wondered why somebody would pay you for this? And I'm like, I have actually. I have a
Yeah.
lot.
You're right. They do ask that.
You're right. And
I
then
can never recognize that in the moment for the record for myself.
yes,
I can never like make sense, like connect to those points in the moment,
exactly.
but now I do.
Um, and I still, I think where maybe people like you and me are different from people like other people are just like, they don't care why, they just try it maybe, and see if it works. I just haven't been able to do that. I haven't been
You
able
know,
to figure out, like, I'm in this, like, I think it also depends on what it is. Like, if you want to do it enough, you'll just do it. Like, regardless of why someone else would want or not want to, right? That's kind of where I've fallen in with the podcast and the book videos, is like, I just want to make the videos. I just want to archive these books, these reviews, type them up, make the graphics. That's just what I want to do. Um, why somebody would want to watch me? Fuck if I know. Um, and
it's
can I
funny you
get
say
somebody
that.
to watch me? Haven't been able to yet. So we'll see how that goes. And I think that's like it's this was another interesting insight from therapy, and this is it's just funny because when I go back into what I used to think, and then I what realizations I've come to now, it like, it's like cause and effect type thing. But um I learned this thing. So my therapist said that a person like me is a thinker, and I like to think sophisticated thoughts. And so people who think sophisticated thoughts also have sophisticated worries,
Mm,
is what they said. And so
mm.
to me, so that's just what it feels like to me, of like thinking about why someone else would want to do something, and trying to like wrap your brain around the logic of it and the end to end process of it, and how, why, whatever.
I'm like
There's
that.
no need. There's just no need, right? There's
You,
you
me
just
and my friend have this. Sorry, I didn't even
no.
interrupt.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, I have this conversation sometimes. This exact conversation, with my friend, who he he's smart. He's someone who doesn't need the explanation though, but he is
Mm-hmm.
smart. Like he may just not be asking. He just doesn't ask a lot of questions,
Mm-hmm.
but he is smart, and that's an interesting combination for me because I never understood how he'll just see something and then just take it for what it is, and
Mm-hmm.
um in a way that, and it works out for him. It works for him. Like I'm like, how do you get that far without having some sort of vigilance? And granted, I feel like my vigilance turns into hypervigilance sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so in that moment when I see, what if I just took that marketing course already? And what if I didn't ask all those questions? What if I just said, here's a marketing course, and they say they're gonna tell me why people want my videos, and they're gonna tell me how to sell them to them, and they're gonna tell me how to execute, and I'm gonna have 60K coming in a month or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Exactly.
sure. But my point is what if I just believe them and I
Mm-hmm.
spend $1,000 and I take this course and I dive in for like
Mm-hmm.
6 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like the worst that could probably happen is actually that I lose $1,000 and that I don't get very far.
Yeah.
But even in that scenario, I'm imagining that I still learn a
Mm-hmm.
lot, a lot. And and my problem is not what I get. I don't get to the third step. I say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, man, $1,000 is a lot of money, especially back in 2021
Mm-hmm.
when I was like worrying about how to make money, and now I got to look at what to invest in. I mean, I'm like,
Yep.
I just feel like I don't know enough to invest.
Mm-hmm.
That's but that keeps me from that fear of losing $1,000, that fear of maybe I'm wasting my time and effort when
Mm-hmm.
and wanting to make every minute and piece of effort and energy just count so much. I have to be so efficient. I can't
Mm-hmm.
fail. I
Yep.
can't get to the third step to where I failed and learned a lot
Yep.
because of that. And I heard someone say, actually, it was the CEO of my company recently. We were all in a marketing meeting, and he said, the opportunity cost of not trying is way greater than failing.
Yep.
The cost of failing. Sorry. He said, yeah, actually, what he said, the opportunity cost of not trying is way greater than not than the cost of not trying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how he said it, something like that. But the
Interesting.
point is, I mean, if you don't try, you're not gonna get anywhere, and if you fail, you're more likely to be further along than not trying. So,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, um,
No,
I
we're
didn't really apply that to those situations,
yeah.
because I didn't like. There's a lot of those situations where I kind of wanted to take advantage of them, but I that's part of, like you said, the conversation we started off with. Doing it's just better to. I'm in a mode of. I think what's working for me right now that didn't work for me last year is that I'm changing my relationship with failure. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also changing my relationship with some of the content and productivity content and self growth content, because I still think it's important. I mean, Atomic Habits, I think, changed my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it's weird to say that, people say that, but that's one of those books that really just flipped the switch for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think the difference now is since that book had said, I know it had a positive impact on me. I couldn't demonize the content. I just had to like change my own relationship with it.
Yep.
And for me, it's knowing that you should just fail as much as possible.
Yeah.
Just fail, just fail. And the other quote I like is obviously from, it's a parable or whatever, and it's also a quote from the beginning of Catch Me If You Can,
Mm-hmm.
which existed before that movie. But it's the two frogs that are jumping around in the pail of milk, and they're trying to get out so they don't drown, right? And they just keep jumping around. They just keep jumping around, and one gives up and he drowns. But the other one, he doesn't know why at this point. He's pointlessly flailing. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know why
Mm-hmm.
he's fighting for his life because he has no hope. It's literally a bucket of milk, and he doesn't know what he's going to do to get out. But he keeps doing it anyways. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually, the butter it starts to churn into butter, into a
Mm-hmm.
solid, and he hops out and he's good. He didn't
Interesting.
know why he was doing it, yet it produced the result that allowed him to get where he needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
You can't foresee the results. You just This is where intuition comes
Yep.
along, and I think the longer you practice you know tracking what's going on and self-awareness, the more maybe you can become more self-aware and get feedback from yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
that hindsight turns into foresight, you
Mm-hmm.
know so
I get
anyways, I'm
that.
just kind of going down a rabbit hole here, but the idea for me is, back now I learn as much as I can, but I have to realize that if I really want to do it, like you just said, at the end of the day, the conclusion absolutely is, if I want to do it, I don't need a good reason to do it other than the
Yep.
fact that I want to. I
Yep.
start there, and then I say, sure, do a little research beforehand, but just already know that you're gonna be that's limited.
Mm-hmm.
The the knowledge of it and procedural knowledge are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sure. Know some stuff, but just get into it. Just
Yep.
get into it. If you want to do it, it's enough justification.
That that thing you said about like buying the course, right? So
Mhm.
what if I told you I did that? I got to step 3. I bought the course. Still didn't turn out the way I expected, but I think I learned something after buying the course. So here's the full tale, right? Back in 2020, 2021, 2022, I got into like creating things again. When I just going through school, I didn't create shit just because I was
Mhm.
like, well, this is a little bit of intro lore. I had a second Instagram account that was a fitness account.
Okay.
I
Yes,
tried
I
making
think I
fitness
remember that.
videos. Shit was not for me. I was too self conscious in the gym. Could not record myself.
That's difficult.
I couldn't do it, and I wasn't gonna do it. I was like, eh. I had a buddy make me a logo, all that stuff, but I tried it, didn't go well. Cool, next thing. I when I was getting into productivity, I was like, okay, I want to get into journaling. I don't want to buy random journals online. What if I just make one that I like? So then I'll start there. Try that. Put it on Amazon, like KDP, because I read about KDP back then. Um, it didn't go anywhere, but I got journals out of it, and you
You
can buy
talking
them.
about the gray one with the red strap? I can't remember, but I've gotten there's two different ones I really like that I have, but continue.
No, not
Just
that one.
yeah.
But it just said like daily journal on it, and then it had like mountains at the bottom. It was like some very basic
Okay.
V1 of something, right?
Yeah.
Didn't work out. Cool. Next thing. Okay, well, I was training with a buddy with a coach of mine for American Ninja Warrior at the time, and so I was like, I need a workout journal. That would be a cool thing to make for myself. I kept making things for myself.
Yes.
This is part of the motto,
And
right?
that's
Is doing it
creating.
for yourself, right?
Yeah.
And V1 of it, dog shit. At least the design on the cover and what was inside. V2 of it, okay. And so I put it online. I made a video of it. I put it online. I said, if any friends would want one, let me know. And I had people
Okay.
actually reach out and just want to buy one. MJG still has his. My buddy Sheila still has his. I think Canvas still has his. Like, and they talk to me about it sometimes. I'm like, that's crazy that you still somehow
Dude,
use that or have that, and you haven't thrown it away yet. That's crazy. Never put those up either because the way it worked, it just didn't work for like me putting it up online. Cool. Next thing, I got into daily planners, and I was like, okay, cool. What's the next thing I can create for myself? Okay, well, I have a workout journal. I can't journal to save my life because I hate writing, so we're not going to do that. But I do know that like I want some sort of structured, like daily structured thing. I'll make a daily planner. Do I still have it over here? I do. Here, 1 second. So the person that I am, and I think I have like 20 something of these because I always bought a sample of what I made, regardless of if I sold it.
Uh-huh.
So this was my daily planner,
Dude,
right?
you showed me this.
Yes. And they're all always anime themed. They're themed around a specific anime character. So it's basically like, what do you want to do in the morning? What do you need to do today? What do you must do today? What's on your list for tomorrow, maybe? And then for fun, what are you gonna do today, right? Because I feel like if you split up a day into those three things, what are you doing in the morning? What do you have to do today? And what do you want to do for fun? You can conquer any single day. That was really fun to make. I just made a couple for some friends, but it didn't really take off. I didn't really sell these. I tried two on Etsy, but they didn't really go. So this is when I got into Etsy,
Okay.
like online,
I remember this
like
conversation.
e-commerce. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I
Keep
made all
going,
these
though.
samples, but I was like, I like doing this, but I don't know how to make it go anywhere. And so instead of figuring out how do I make this work, like how do I make this thing that I really like designing, like how do I get it to people, how do I market it to people, how do I like get it out there? Since it wasn't working initially, I just stopped doing it. I just stopped because the natural, organic inflow wasn't there or interest wasn't there. And then I was like, I still want to create something. I want to make Etsy work. I want to know, how do people make it work? I think that's been the biggest question of my life, is like, how does somebody, how do they do it? And can
Yes.
I do it? Right. Cause my whole thing has always been proving that I can do it, so that if somebody else is looking at me, they can also know that they're able to do it. Right.
Yep.
That's how it was with calisthenics. I can do a muscle up, so you can. I can get the dragon flag, so you can. I, as a lanky, skinny, can't gain weight to save his life kid, can gain strength, technique, and skill. I also, as someone who doesn't have innate high IQ, can also get good grades, get a good job, get a good like all these things, right? I can do it, so you can too. That's always been my idea. And so I was like, but how do people make e-commerce work? I don't know. And that's when I got down the really big rabbit hole of like all the shorts and the YouTube videos of like, here are 3, 5, 10 digital like product ideas for Etsy, or here's what's selling on Etsy right now, or here's how you can make something to sell on Etsy really quickly and make $1 million in a year. And I'm like, I hate those videos because they're all clickbaity, but I watch all of them just in case in 10 minutes is there 30 seconds of something that I didn't realize that actually
Right.
makes sense, right? So
That's how I got into micro learning too.
that's what I'm
Kind
fucking
of.
saying.
Yeah.
You have to you have to shift through the garbage, but there may be something of treasure in there.
And you might be tying that back to that course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I finally found an individual that I thought maybe their course is worth it. But then I went back to, do I really want to pay money for this? Do I really
Yeah.
really want to? Can I pay the money for this? And I remember going to my dad, and sitting him down with me, and I was like, I want to talk through something with you and just help me figure out if this is okay to do or not. This is one of the only times I've done this with my dad, by the way. Usually I just do my own things. But I was like, if this doesn't work, I don't want him to be disappointed or whatever. I still think about that, like not disappointing my parents and making them proud and everything. So I was like, I don't want to spend a lot of money and feel like I'm wasting it, and then they're gonna be like, you wasted money. So I was like, okay, the course is this much. I think that with the course, if they're offering everything that it says it's offering, it seems like a good value and something that I can learn and then continue to do and hopefully at some point do well. I don't expect that I'm going to succeed immediately, but I think this will help me learn something to apply. And he said, if you think that way, do it. And his rule to us has always been, if you want to do something, do it, but don't do it halfway.
Right.
Go all the way, right? And so I took the course. I really feel like half the course was stuff that she'd already said on her YouTube videos, but then the other half was like you get videos from other people who are successful in the e-commerce space, whether it's digital mailing lists and how to curate like your email list of people and your marketing list, or back to SEO, or then back to product design, or then shop design, and then listings and all these things, right? Like how do you make what's going to be how do you make what people want right now, not just what you think you want to make, things like that, right? First product didn't work with SEO. Second product didn't work with SEO. But then I was like, okay, cool. I know how Etsy works, and none of these digital things are working. So nothing that I was creating for myself was working online. So then the next thing I wanted to create for myself was Fableware. And this was the thing that I was like, okay, I'm already making book videos. I'm already doing the podcast. And I got really inspired by guys like T-Soup and FOMO. And I was like,
Me too.
I was like, I want to try my hand at designing something cool, having a brand. How do people make apparel? How do apparel lines work? How does this work? I want to try it.
Yeah.
And that's how Fableware started. And so when I made Fableware, when I had the ideas for it, and the fact that I could tie it into like my books, like the reviews that I like to make, and maybe the book channel, so it's not a standalone brand. Maybe there's a way to drive traffic to it through like the videos of like the book videos, and me wearing something Fableware on a video, every single video that I make. Eventually, somebody will like it, and maybe like I can funnel traffic there at some point. So all that Etsy knowledge came into this apparel brand. So then I was okay, cool. What makes good listing photos?
It's good stuff.
I bought this whole cream cloth backdrop and the stand for it. At that point, I had saved up enough money to buy my first camera, which is what I'm recording on right now. And it's my baby, the Canon EOS Mark 5D, something like that, 5D Mark II. Okay. And I was like, okay, cool. I will do everything myself. I think maybe one of my like deficiencies right now is feeling like I need to do everything myself to the point of failure, just to know if I ask somebody else to do it, what is my benchmark? What am I looking for? How do I want it done? So I've told myself I can never pay someone else to do something that I haven't done myself. Because if they mess up, or if they do something and I want to tweak it a little bit, I need to know how to do that first. I need to know what I want. Took the pictures myself. I took the pictures of myself, took pictures of the product. It's not the best product listing photos, but it was still like the first time doing it. I called up T-Soup, I called up Ja'Cory, I called up Canvas. I was like, yo, come help me model these things. Now, the photos I took of them, sick. Photos I took of myself, ass. Regardless. I put them up all up online. I spent a lot of time making like those really fun transition videos of like I would flick a book, and the second flick would transition to the shirt instead of the book in my hand, and like showing the shirt off, and all these musical transition videos, because they were really fun to do, and I really wanted to try the musical transition videos, which I could do with the shirts. And so
and I wanted to do some more of that myself, and I never did, but continue on listening.
No, you're fine. And it I got sales when I first launched it, which was cool, but it was all friends and family, right? I couldn't drive people I don't know to my things. And then I said, okay, cool. Well, this could work. I'm passionate about this. I've shown myself that I can put in the work to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
Let's step away from the ego. Let's not be an obstacle to ourselves. So I tried to hire somebody on Upwork to help me with like the listings and like the SEO and all that stuff and get it up to
Okay.
snuff and everything. And then he said, okay, so this is what you would need to do. And he did the ones up there for me. He said, here's what you're gonna want to do. Like every 3 days, put a new listing up. And by a new listing, it can be a copy of your previous ones, but like, you know, Etsy, it's a marketplace. It likes to see new things uploaded every single time. It's like YouTube. So you want to go in every
Yeah,
couple of
it's
days
just
and
content.
upload a new one, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't do that part because by then I had the realization of I can't make videos, make and edit and post videos for the book channel, make and edit and post videos for the podcast channel, and then make, edit, and post listings and marketing videos and stuff for the e-commerce. I couldn't do all that at once.
Yeah.
The clothing line dropped, or no, the podcast dropped first. When I tried to pick the podcast back up, the clothing line dropped first,
Right.
or dropped next. And then at some point, all of them just dropped in 2024. I actually closed the Etsy shop down last year, which was hard to do because when people know about it, they actually want one.
Right.
And I think it was one of the things that we were talking about like you're just not doing it long enough. You get too much in your head and you think, okay, maybe just this isn't for me, I'll stop. You're not doing it long enough, right? Like my wife, she likes the sweaters. They're all very cute, cozy. I made a really good product. I believe I made a really good product. She wears it. People like it. It's not just me, right? And she would wear it to like some like hangouts with her friends. And one of her friends says, "Oh, that's cute. Where can I buy one?" This was before she realized that I'd closed it down. But she said to her friend, "Yeah, I'll ask him for the link and everything." And I told her I actually closed that down. I'm sorry. But so it's like if I think I always do this where I stop way too early. Like I stop before I even start. Basically is what it is, right? But that's kind of that's a long-winded way of saying I tried the course, I got to step 3, I got to the fail part, and just like you, my whole motto for 2022 and 2023 was try as many things as possible to get yourself like used to trying anything new. And then the next thing has been fail as many things as possible because you know I read the quote of every successful entrepreneur has a graveyard of failures behind them.
Yeah.
And
I saw that.
and the person who and you can like the rate at which you succeed is the rate at which you fail.
Yes, I
So
like that. Actually, a lot of things you just said, you're right. I'm resonating a lot with what the things you're saying, too, because I start off with it as a dancer, a street dancer. I'm going to these battles. You know, we're hosting like these people are hosting events, but it's like just like people throwing small community events in a dance studio,
mm-hmm,
I'm doing these videos in the same fashion and at the same
mm-hmm,
level of operation, if not, I mean, if that. And then I get to this place where I'm like kind of like, what's the point of this? Like, where's this going? And how do I get it? Like now I'm seeing these courses, these videos, I make this much money and stuff. And
mm-hmm,
maybe a lot of that's an unhealthy kind of consumption, but also it shows me that like, well, maybe even the people who aren't selling me things, I can see that now. I can see
mm-hmm,
examples of success with some of the skills that I have. And I'm starting to think, okay, well, people are doing this for other people and for money. And I'm like,
mm-hmm,
there's something there that I don't get. And so I see these courses and I'm like, I have this, I was saying hypervigilance before, but I have this like skepticism,
mm-hmm,
and it's like I think it's funny. I didn't expect it to go this way when we were talking. I thought maybe we're doing the same thing.
mm-hmm,
We're doing the same thing. First of all, I remember last year when you and I had this conversation that we didn't get to put out, right? But you showed me the notepads, and I found that. I mean, you did something for me actually. You know that you talking about the Etsy thing, and you printed those
mm-hmm,
notepads. You turned a switch on for me actually, which was that you can like create a framework that is useful to someone else and actually sell it. Like that's what people are
Mm-hmm.
doing. That's what people are doing. You know what I mean? And I thought about it so much because I was in such a stage where I think I talked about Atomic Habits around that time.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably been over a year,
Yeah.
but um I remember thinking to myself that I was trying to figure out what routine meant for me, what and when is routine good and when is it not? Is it limiting? Is it not? Like what works for me to get to like gain knowledge and skills and
Mm-hmm.
results. Like how do I progress? How do I grow?
Mm-hmm.
um, and when you showed me that little thing, it kind of affirmed in me that other people are asking the same questions, and that first of all there's like sort of like money around self-growth, but how do I not I wanted to make content around self-growth. And
Mm-hmm.
I think what I was doing was I made all those videos that you mentioned
They're
before.
so good. Oh my
And
God.
what I did was I
Yeah.
stopped because I started feeling like I was just making content about making content. I was like,
Mm.
but this isn't there's more to life than this, like selling self-growth books about self-growth.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to be that meta. Like
Yeah.
I want to broaden up the point of
Mm-hmm.
my content a little more. But I guess to kind of keep tying it back to when I saw your notebook and your notepads, it kind of was a full circle back to when I first asked about how do I learn more? How do I get like
Mm-hmm.
people? How do I start learning things? How do I start learning things from other people?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like the idea of buying courses.
Yep.
Opportunity cost I couldn't afford it.
Yep.
It wasn't worth it if it didn't actually create immediate results. And I started asking myself, how do I differentiate what's going to work and what's not going to work? So
Yep.
then I started thinking, well, I don't want to just sit here and watch YouTube. I don't want to just sign up for something and watch videos. Just watch videos of people talking about something.
Mm-hmm.
I need if I'm going to pay for something, I want actionable steps.
Yep.
And and
I want someone to almost hold my hand through the first iteration, because
right,
I don't want them to show me like just do these steps and it will work. If you repeat them fast enough, if you repeat them, it's like no, 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 no. Like do this with me. Look over my shoulder. Correct me, whatever it is, right? But like I
right.
want like
But
but
I
that's
want to
just me.
know.
Yeah.
No, no, that's how I felt. I wanted to know that I was gonna say, I want, I want these courses to say, if you do X, Y, and Z, and you don't get this exact result, and the fine print there is understandable and limited, right? And I know
Mm-hmm.
that if I want to truly believe that if I will listen to what they say, and we'll do it, and then we'll get
Mm-hmm.
this result. I want to believe it, and I just didn't believe most of the time when I saw it. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
just a cash grab. This is a grift.
Yep.
And maybe they're sharing knowledge, but they don't actually care about how well I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't do it. And I let my skepticism keep me from doing it. And I'm okay with that, because what I did instead was I thought to myself, well, how do I decide who to trust?
Mm-hmm.
Because I see that there are people out here selling crap, and I want to know who to trust, or how to know who to trust. And so Shetty, like what's his name again?
Jay
Sorry.
Shetty.
Jay Shetty. I didn't watch a lot of his, but I watched some of his podcast episodes. I got into watching podcasts and a lot of this content. But what I did for myself was I listened with extreme uh critical, like I was extremely critical when
Mm-hmm.
listening. And I'm like, is this person, I'm avoiding all things that sound like selling. I'm only
Mm-hmm.
listening to people who speak like an artist. I'm only listening to people who are not just repeating the same selling points for that their book that they just came out with. I'm listening to people who are speaking about something passionate because their brain thinks about it, not because they saw something to sell about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I want to see people's brains turning. I want to be inspired by people who wrote a book because they couldn't help but to write notes every day and it turned into one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like yeah, that's what I wanted to do. And so I began to consume the content, and that behavior, that passion felt a lot. I learned that this was the common denominator for me. I'll buy a course from someone who's who's doing the work,
Yep.
who I can see the passion in, not just because they have good talking points.
Yeah.
And I just became critical in that kind of way. One thing I wanted to point out was that you talked about how you did you did your initial like journals, and then you did your notepads, and you did like, content like for the podcast, did content for the books. You had to learn how to do edits for videos, and you had to learn how to do some photos and stuff like that for the gear. Like, you have to think about how many skills you were sitting there and challenging yourself with there. And I think that all these different methods, this applies to me, and I talked to a friend about this recently, and I
Mm-hmm.
think you're just reaffirming this for me. I think that all these different avenues and interests aren't really the point, in all the things that you have to do in order to attempt those avenues and interests.
Mm-hmm.
All the little skills behind
Mm-hmm.
them are really the golden nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you did was you compounded every time. You probably felt like you were starting over every time. You're like, I can't believe I'm changing my mind again. I can't believe I'm gonna do another thing. This doesn't even have anything to do with that. This doesn't have nothing to do with that. But in hindsight, from the way you were just speaking a second ago, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Everything fed into another. You compounded all your efforts and time and energy into the next thing without realizing it. You were building, and you weren't just switching over here, switching over there, switching over there. You were building a network between all those things. Now
Mm-hmm.
you have a conglomerate of skills here. You have a skill set,
Yeah.
and maybe they're not top notch, but that's fine, because what else? Now your direction is I'm saying you, but I'm talking about myself here.
Yeah.
For me, I got into the dancing. I got into this. I like the way people speak, and I like when people do it with passion, and I like people who do it with style, and I like people who can edit, and I like people who speak arbitrarily. I like uh I like cool colors. I like
Mm-hmm.
lines. I'm visually stimulated. I
Mm-hmm.
like culture. And I continue to allow myself to indulge in all of these interests, because I know that there's something that interests me there, and
Mm-hmm.
that there are people make money in where interests are.
Yep.
That's how advertising works, and so I'm just going to follow my interests, and as long as I follow my interests and try to learn something about my interests, and I can, you know what I mean, I just
Mm-hmm.
continue to learn and grow in my
Yeah.
interests,
Yeah.
then it will compound.
Yeah.
It will compound. Now when I ask myself, if I want to try something, it's probably related around a lot of things I'm already interested in.
That's
And
true.
and now I know that if I try that thing, I'm affirmed by the fact that it's so related to everything I already know I'm interested in, have built skills around. I'm justified in just following that interest.
Mm-hmm.
And now I believe and have the foresight to know that if I take part in that interest, it's going to add something
Mm-hmm.
else into my skill set.
Mm-hmm.
And and long story short, I'd like to point out an example of how this just stuff I'm just saying right now. I'd like to make that a little more tangible.
Mm-hmm.
In high school, why did I start dancing? I asked myself the things that I think were worth it. Um, I'm not going to ask why I've already know why they're worth it. I'm not going to ask that question. Maybe people need to ask that, right? But after
Mm-hmm.
that, the question is, once I know why it's worth it, well, why did I start it in the first place? Everything that I think was worth it, why did I start it in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Dance. Man, it was fun. I like music. I
Yeah.
had friends who did it, and so I did it with my friends, and I found a sense of community, and then it offered me identity, and then I had this artistic interest in a lot of different things, and then I bought a camera, one so that I could film dance,
Mm-hmm.
for fun.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to make stuff for my crew, so I made a Facebook page, and I edited these little photos and videos, and I posted the Facebook page, and that
Yep.
Facebook page got noticed and I made these shirts, and then we went out to a teen club and danced with the shirts. One of the promoters from the real world saw us, and he hooked us up with one of the guys from the real world, and then that guy came and hosted our talent show at our
Mm-hmm.
high school. You know what I mean? And I didn't know what I was doing there, but I was marketing. I
Mm-hmm.
was networking. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But really, I just did it out of pure interest, right? And
Yep.
and at this time, I start making a little money, and because I want to know how people make money off of it. And yeah, because I want to make money, but you don't sell things for $50 because you want to get rich. You sell things for $50 because you want to know how to make money.
Yep.
And so you settle for $50 because you're making money,
Yep.
and you just critique from there. I didn't know why I wanted to live in a van. I just felt the freaking intuition to do it. I felt like I didn't like all the things I had that I didn't need, and I figured if it could fit into a van, it was probably essential. So I
Yep.
became even less than a minimalist and more of an essentialist because I wanted to know what I really needed.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, um, I I I upgraded into some of these different like I wanted to follow these courses. I started following all this content. I started listening to these podcasts, like upgraded the way I was taking in content. And because I just wanted to change the way I felt, I wanted to feel productive. Point is, all those things have in common is because my intuition said so at the high end.
Mm-hmm.
On the low end, pure interest
Yep.
only, and they were worth it. And those have all been the most fruitful things. School was not fruitful for me. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't good at it. I couldn't force
Mm-hmm.
myself into it. I didn't have the discipline for it. I didn't have the frameworks. Now I have a job. A year ago, when did we talk? Was it February?
Yes, we January, February, we had a little
Yeah.
yeah, offline discussion, and then before that, I think the last time we talked was probably 23 or something like that.
Oh, right. Dude, that's crazy. Time
Yeah,
goes by crazy. Well, just know that I move into just a long-winded story, man.
you're
But just
fine.
know
Keep going.
I move into this apartment with my friends and my girlfriend, and my friend is like into content creation. We're very different. He's that guy who doesn't ask why. He
Mm-hmm.
just does. He just does. He has no fear. I
Yep.
mean, he just moves. And things don't always work out, but he just keeps it rolling, and it works out for him.
Yep.
Um, we started making content together. I started helping him on his content. Once he
Mm-hmm.
started doing his content, I was helping him with his content every day at one point. And I started realizing if I can help him make content every day, I can make content for myself every day. And that's when that whole role started. That was also right after I read Atomic Habits.
Mm-hmm.
So then I did make content for myself every day. Got burnt out a little bit.
Yep.
And then also I was like, well, I'm gonna level up all my gear while I'm burnt out because it's gonna come back around. I don't care.
Yep.
I'm gonna level up. And so I started to do that. Well, I did never get back around to it because I started a job. I started a 9 to 5 job. I'm in the
Mm-hmm.
marketing department as a video producer now
Mm-hmm.
at a for a company, for a growing company who just got investments,
Mm-hmm.
who pretty much just got bought. So, and I'm been leveling up there. I've been learning a lot there. And I guess I say all that to say is I'm being paid on salary for things that people went to school for, uh, because I followed my passions
Yep.
and it pays my bills. And I just got and now I just got a raise.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually learning real marketing things now. I'm having all this content consumed for like what seemed pointless over the. I was working part time at Apple with no job,
Mm-hmm.
walking in the heat, taking the bus, taking Ubers. Right? I say sorry. I was working part time at Apple with no car,
Yep.
and I was walking in the heat. I was taking Ubers. I mean, why did I need to consume content about multi-million-dollar companies and how they build teams?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Why did I need to understand why someone sells something the way they do? Why
Mm-hmm.
did I need to understand? Why would I consume content about people making money that I can't barely understand? About marketing funnels and things like that. I'm working at the mall, dude.
Mm-hmm.
But now, recently, I've had several meetings where I've been able to talk to my bosses about funnels
Mm-hmm.
because I've literally consumed it out of interest
Mm-hmm.
for 2 years
Yep.
and it's relevant.
Yep.
So, and I'm not talking on my ass
Yep.
because I've practiced it on my own business.
Yep.
All I'm trying to say is I'm making a living and growing in a
Mm-hmm.
career and thriving
Mm-hmm.
because I blindly followed my passions for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that really happened. You know what I mean? I'm still not necessarily anywhere I want to. Like, I still have way bigger ambitions,
Mm-hmm.
but I see how it. I mean, I think it's going to be exponential growth.
Yeah.
Like, I think you. I'm going to tell you something right now. I've been walking around telling my friend, my roommates, and my girlfriend, this crazy line. I've been going around just spouting, "Hey, just so you know, I'm going to be really rich, not because I'm greedy, but because I'm passionate." I'm gonna be rich. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't really I'm kind of anti-capitalism, to be honest with
Mm-hmm.
you. But I'm like, I'm gonna be rich. Like I'm not scared. I'm gonna be rich. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
little scared of failure. I get in my head and I get in the weeds and I'll burn out. But I'm starting to realize like I don't think anything can stop me. I'm a snowball,
Mm-hmm.
man. Like uh And it's just because I see how much I don't need to know, how
Yeah.
much I can surrender, how much I can just do. And as long as I create, can I share it? I'm gonna wrap this point up. I'm gonna wrap this point up with this. I actually just made a note, probably today in my car.
Well, you're already answering one of my other questions, which was going to be, can you please share
Yeah.
something from one of your recent notes? Because Zach's notes is
Stop.
something that I would love to go into either a book or a newsletter
Dude, don't say that because it's a
I need you
dream.
to bring back his activities with Zach notes. Please bring back
Dude,
his activities. Please.
stop. Because that's exactly the plan. Dude, don't okay, you hold on. Bro, you're killing me. I'm about to make a new note. I'm making a new note right now.
No,
I'm gonna
right
do this.
now.
Oh,
We're
wait, real
fine.
quick. Talking with Arish. I need you to know, wait, look, just know that I'm gonna say share today's note. That's what they look like. Today's note. And then also share um creative framework for the first time.
Mm.
Okay, sorry, there's lots of
Mm.
notes. And I'm gonna make these concise. Okay, I'm bringing up my notes on my phone here. Today, dude, where is this note? It's definitely here. Did I put it in my phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's on Threads. What the heck? I've been noting on Threads, bro. This isn't even a personal note. I just typed this off the top of my head to
Interesting.
Threads.
I
All
stopped
right.
using Threads, but I love that you're using it.
Oh, you know what? What's funny? No likes. And I knew that I was worried that I was gonna be self-conscious about it later. But now the first thought I've had about it later is right now.
Yep.
So there's no way I'm deleting this, even though right now it has no likes. No one's responding to any of this, bro.
Yep.
Um, look, here goes. If this is the note off the top of my head, I just sat there and stared at my phone for 45 minutes while I worked this out and typed it up off the top of my head and then shared it. Right. It's the first time I'm reading it. It says, if you want to get continuously and infinitely, see, I already messed up typo. That's why you reread things. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God. If you want to continuously and infinitely get better at anything specific, you have to do just three things. Number one is do it a lot. Number two is consistently keep documentation of your effectiveness in your actions.
Okay.
And number three, and then apply the problem solving process over and over again.
Mm. Okay.
So do it a lot, constantly document and review your effectiveness in your actions, and then use that documentation to problem solve over and over again.
Okay.
So I say this because in other words, I also put in the same thing. I said, in other words, correlate the behaviors by saying, number one, make and block out time for doing it. Write, count, create, video, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I that's step number two. That's how you document and review,
Mm-hmm.
and then identify a problem and solve for it.
Yep.
Yeah, identify a problem to solve and do whatever you can to solve it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is off the top of my head, but the point is it's a 3-step process, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, to getting better,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all about doing it a lot, documenting it
Mm-hmm.
by creating a feedback loop,
Mm-hmm.
and then problem solving in that feedback loop, and
Mm-hmm.
just do it a lot, and that's everything. I'm just gonna do that with everything, and that's all I've been doing. I think that's all you've been doing.
That's
So
yeah. I think that's
yeah.
I think the first two steps are easy. I think the third step is the hardest part because it requires really intentional action for you to see the problem and then actually try and solve it versus just think you're solving it. Because
That's the importance of step number two, really.
yeah.
That creating the the more unaware you, the more frequently you find yourself unaware of how effective you're actually being,
Mm-hmm.
is the smaller the feedback loop needs to be.
Mm.
Like, and people are, what people don't do is, what happens is, like you said, for me especially, I'm self-aware in so many ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes down, I can sit here and lie to myself so easily, just as easily as
Yep.
I am self-aware. How much money did I really spend this week? Do I know? Do you know, if you ask yourself, how much money did you really spend? And do you know every single thing you spent it on? And do you feel good that every single thing you spent it on was intentional? Okay, well, you know what I mean? Like, do you? And what people won't, people will be like, they rather guess.
Yeah.
They rather say, yeah, sure, it feels right, or no. Or they'll be like, oh, they'll just settle with the fact that they
Yeah.
don't feel good
They'd
about it.
rather not know, and they'd rather
Yeah,
not know
or they
what
don't do
what
the
the
effort of knowing,
because
of
that's
knowing.
I feel like that's
So
a
and it comes down to this. It comes down to this. I will track my finances every week, and if I can still
mm-hmm,
don't know what I'm doing, I'll track it every day. And
mm-hmm,
people are like, "That's not sustainable. It's not meant to be sustainable. It's meant to be aggressive. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
It's meant to be over the top. Because until I can get the behavior down, then the feedback loop needs to be smaller. You know, until my awareness is there, the feedback loop needs to be smaller. And then I can trust my intuition to problem solve and
mm-hmm,
obsess and just fix because
mm-hmm,
I'm looking at it every day. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is exactly, exactly the point. Yes. Then do better. Problem solve better. Like
mm-hmm,
by even, and people think do better. If you're failing more, crank down that. The more you continue to fail, the more you
mm-hmm.
need to shrink that feedback loop. And people stop at the point of gaining data because it's too you know what? If I
Because
track my if
you put in so much
yeah,
work to gain the data, it requires more work to now analyze the data, come up with the
yep.
solution, and then implement said solution. You're already burnt out from data gathering. So, or you could already be exhausted and or bored or annoyed with with just the data you got. Maybe the data
I
you
mean, the
got was
discipline of
negative.
doing it is
Yeah, maybe
difficult.
the data you got was negative and you didn't like the fact that, oh, this data, I think I know where this data is leading me, and I don't want the closure of knowing that this is going to be this is going to be have a bad answer. I'm just going to assume it's a bad answer now, and I'm just not even going to I'm not going to actually actualize it.
But what you do is you use the frameworks and atomic habits to create disciplines that allow you to maintain a small feedback loop. But
Mm-hmm.
and what you'll find, in my opinion, what you'll find is when you get to a point in your feedback loop being effective, you'll begin to your behaviors will begin to make the using the behaviors in atomic habits will allow you to change your daily behaviors and habits that fit in line with keeping good data that you do like.
Mm.
You won't look, can you look at the bad data every single day and not change the way the
And
data
no,
comes
okay,
out?
yeah.
Right. So if I don't want to add an expense manually to my spreadsheet every day that says I ate in and out, that I ate Canes on my lunch, that I bought a smoothie in the morning, that I bought a Whataburger breakfast, that on the way home I bought McDonald's, that I bought Wingstop for me and my girlfriend. If I don't want to see that every single day, well, it's pretty clear what I need to do. I probably got to stop doing that. Well, then what am I going to eat? Well, I guess I got to start cooking at home. Now, when I'm hungry, I replace one habit with another. I don't go eat out. I go find something. I'll buy a frozen meal and on lunch and take it back to the
Mm-hmm.
microwave at work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't eat frozen meals anymore, then I'll make sandwiches in the morning. And then I'll
Mm-hmm.
start getting up. What I'm trying to say is, I won't look at the negative data every day. So I'll create a behavior. I'll change it. It's all about changing behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Shrink the habit loop until your behavior changes, and then that habit loop will begin to expand, and you won't have to. You won't have. You'll just get better at it. You won't have to look at it every day. You can look at it every week, every month, and then eventually you'll be someone who doesn't have to crunch it. You shrink it down, change the behavior, and reverse engineer it until your behavior has changed. Therefore, you have the habits to support it. So, yeah. Anyways,
Wow.
yeah, it's problem. Then that what I
Wow.
was talking about with food identifying the problem is that I'm eating out. Identifying the problem with how I feel. I don't like that. Therefore, it is a problem. Therefore, how do I not do that? Therefore, let's do this behavior instead and see if the data gets better. I mean, it's kind of weird. I think this is kind of weird. I don't think this is a normal person thing to do, but I think if
No, no,
someone
no, no,
wants
no,
to,
no.
I think if somebody, I just want to
You're an
make the new.
outlier.
Yeah. I just want to make sure. Okay, yeah, maybe I'm an outlier. Okay, I just want to make sure if anyone else is struggling with continuously going in a cycle of behaviors and failing, that I mean, and you want to change and you just don't know how to change, you really just don't know how to change. It's gonna be something like that. Maybe you can try something like that you can change. And I'm so committed I'm such a difficult, I'm so stubborn. I'm so committed to wanting to actually grow and change that I'll do that. And so, yeah, I just want to put that out there that maybe if you're someone who's stuck or something and you need those little weird details and you're a little strange and you identify anything that I'm saying with yourself, well, then try that too. I don't know. So
That's
I'm trying it.
insane.
Yeah. And yeah.
There's a lot for me to say there,
Sorry, that
but
was I
no,
just
no, no.
ranted, bro, for a
This
long
is
time.
this is a podcast. This is the place to do it. By the way,
Wow.
um,
That was a stream
I
of
don't even have to
consciousness.
ask you questions because we this is what this should be.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's a good point to pause on for that topic, which will be
Yes.
revisited at some point in the future when you come back on this thing to talk more about that. But
I don't think we talk enough for me to sit here and not go in crazy depth of
no,
something.
I
We'll just
agree.
have to
I
talk more.
agree.
Sorry.
We know actually
Yeah, yeah.
we shouldn't talk more so we can do more of this.
Okay.
Actually,
Okay. Say
let's
this.
have that behavior.
Let's
Just
just do
kidding.
this weekly meeting. I got you.
Exactly. Forget it. We're starting a new podcast channel.
I'm here for it, bro. Because I got some ideas that need to go on
it's
Etsy
gonna be
too.
Zack notes.
Yeah.
But so I before when I was prepping for this, I have my notes and everything, but I wanted to do something different for this one. So I asked actually like a group of friends. I was like, hey, listen, I'm gonna talk to Major on a podcast. What questions
What?
do you want to know?
No way.
So I have a whole set of viewer questions that I would like to go through with you.
Dude, that's
Um,
so cool that you did that.
of course,
Yeah.
of course. I think it's interesting, right? Because these are things I didn't even think of asking. Because I'm just tunnel vision into the questions that I think I want to ask or want to know from you, and there's questions that don't even come to mind, but they're still great questions to ask, right? I'm not gonna tell you who they're from, but maybe later we can talk about who asked these.
Uh-huh. But for the record, it's cool to think that people would even think of like would have questions for me,
Yeah,
curiosities to ask me.
yeah,
So just objectively. So
you're amazing. Okay, so the first one
stop.
is who's the best tutter in Dallas?
Boy,
All right, put someone on
the best
blast.
tutter in the best tutter in Dallas. It's gonna be it. Look, man, I want to show what I want to do is I want to find out who's the best tutter in Dallas between me, Shadows, and Mark Wonder.
Really?
Um, I think I could beat pretty much anyone in Dallas at on not on any given day though.
Yeah.
But I do think I have that in me.
Mm-hmm.
And what's crazy is that I really ain't been out there like that in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Not like I was when I had maybe made a statement similar to this before.
I remember that statement, which is why
Exactly.
this question's fun.
I remember because I made that statement. Oh, I'm the best tutter in Dallas on Facebook, and that thing was probably like, I mean, that thing blew up. It was kind of
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And then I stand by making that post. But that being said, I realized that maybe I really actually was the best tutter in Dallas because to this day, it's been like 5 years actually, probably. To this day, when I'm in a cipher, people like look at me and they tut. They'll be like in the middle of the round and then they'll start tutting and then they'll turn towards me. Like I just feel it. People tut at me
Mm-hmm.
every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like so. Anyways, I say that to say I think I'm like one of the best tutters in Dallas. But at this point, I think Mark, me, and Shadows would have to really,
Duke it out.
make a point. Yeah, and I think Shadows is and Wonder kind of got me on most days though. I'm gonna be honest
Mm-hmm.
with you. Yeah, and then even I have to mention Zenith. Um, he's done so many crazy things with his movement and his visuals over the past couple of years. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the way he has lasered in on some details. I don't think everyone gets to really enjoy yet.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he keeps pushing because because I really think he's something special with the way he like I think his artistic approach and creative process and problem solving skills uh, in his craft is like what he does with his craft is crazy. But I just want
Mm-hmm.
to say that he does some crazy angles that I only don't put him on that list because it's just so arbitrary that like I don't even really want to call it like I don't want to just he's not
You don't
just
want to box
tutting
it in
like
tutting?
it's
Yeah.
yeah
Yeah.
but he's tutting crazy
Yeah.
and he could throw some crazy tut rounds but like I don't even want him to think about competing. Like I just want him to keep making
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, I'm
No,
gonna give you
that
that answer.
no, that's a great
Yeah.
answer. That's a great answer. Wow. Um, maybe this one doesn't apply anymore, but let's go ahead and ask it. How's the 365-day challenge treating you so far?
Man,
I
that's
think this was asked earlier when you were like doing it. But I don't know if I've seen. Are you still doing it, or did it kind
oh,
of pause?
I'm still gonna do it.
Okay, okay,
It's not treating me well. Well, no,
okay.
it's treating me great. I'm not treating it well.
Mm,
I'm not dancing every day. I'm having that's one of those things that's like really testing me right now.
mm-hmm,
I failed at it. So for anyone who's listening, I committed to dancing every single day for 365 days. And I did it for maybe the first attempt, alluding to the fact that there's been several attempts. The first attempt has like it taught me something. I did it for like maybe 7 to 10 days or something, and it changed. I think it dance rechanged my life
mm-hmm,
because nothing provides the experience
mm-hmm,
that dance does in terms of creativity, in terms of meditation, in terms of like self-awareness, like spiritual energy, just grit, effort, physical, like in tune presence. Like nothing matches the creative process or creative experience like dance does. I
mm-hmm.
have yet to see anything feel like that for me. So when I did it for like 7 or 10 days in a row, I was like, wow, I need this. And I mean that in the most existential way possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I need this. Like I can't live without this. uh, so so I was like, I need to do this every day. And I'm gonna apply this. So I just said I'm gonna do this every day, and not because I don't have to do it every day. It's not that, but I know I need to build a routine around it. And the only way I'm gonna actually build a routine around it is if I overcommit.
Yep.
Right. I have to overcommit here. I have to find a reason to fail before I'm actually gonna like change my
Mm-hmm.
behavior. I have to change the feedback loop. I have
Yep.
to make it smaller. So I'm gonna do it every day. I guess that's really what it was. And so um, I failed over and over again, and I kept starting over. And I started realizing, well, the times when I don't feel like doing it or because I don't really have anywhere to go, or I don't want to play music right here because it's gonna be loud, or
Mm-hmm.
someone's in the room, or like where's my stand?
Yep.
I don't even have a good song. I'm not
Yep.
listening to enough music these days. I'm not even enjoying music enough these days.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I'm enjoying music now. like it highlights all these peripherals that are
Yeah.
needed in order to succeed. So anyways, I'm going back to things I was saying earlier, but the idea was I created space. I signed back into SoundCloud. um I, you know
Remember
what
your
I mean?
login, yeah.
Yeah, I saved some playlists. I left the light up and a tripod up.
Mm-hmm.
um I started scheduling it, and then I started doing it more, and I continued to fail
Mm-hmm.
because there was other areas in my life that I realized I was feeling bad about. There was other things that were holding me back, and it was the way I was just feeling. Well, why do I feel so bad that I can't dance?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not making enough time for this and that, and so so on, so on and so on. I'm just in the process right now of being able to practice being. You can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure because I almost got a phone call. I just practiced being so present that I could dance. And
Yep.
so it's treating me well in the sense that I've been failing so much that I'm learning a lot about myself right now. But I'm still doing it. I'm considering just more so counting the number of days I can succeed at dancing
Mm-hmm.
within 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm considering doing something like that. I also just moved into a new apartment, so maybe
Yep.
I will pick up doing it every day. I
Yep.
have a lot more room for it. I don't have as many roommates. I have a girlfriend. But yeah, that's it. It's treating me well,
Mm-hmm.
even though I've
Um,
done nothing but fail.
I would like to note before moving on to the last next one, which you may have already answered, but I'll say the question later. But I would like to note that everything you just said is basically reducing friction to then take the action more easily.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'll just end it right there and let people marinate on
Yeah.
that. Um, what is the most exciting gig you've had?
Oof.
See, I would never ask these questions. Fuck.
That's so good. Well, I want to answer. I want to give two examples because I want to give an example of one that was exciting because entrepreneurially,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow, this is different. This is different client base. This is different value that I'm offering.
Mm-hmm.
Different process. It's cool
Mm-hmm.
that the way I got found or whatever. And then maybe think of. I also want to think of one that's like exciting creatively, uh, for whatever creative purpose. Man, that's such a good one though. All right, just know that. Yeah, no, I'm thinking about it now. I want to say that one I want to turn this into a like kind of like a checkpoint thing. So just know that first checkpoint was someone asked me to pay do a video for them, and I filmed their hills class for $50.
Mm-hmm.
And that was exciting, very exciting for me. I created
Mm-hmm.
Majors Productions because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, Majors Productions is what I called it.
Yep.
And then twin I think around 2019, I was moving back. I was traveling back and forth between Atlanta, trying to figure life out a little bit. And Choi was throwing UMF. Yeah, he was throwing UMF with the city of Plano, and he had reached out to me about wanting to work with me. And I had started to see this trend of like interesting opportunities come in, and me just not
Mm-hmm.
know how to approach them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know. And maybe I should just accept it and then nut up in the moment, like just figure it out, you
Yep.
know? And so I remember that first year I quoted them $400 for on-screen display battles and a recap video.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to return items just to break even.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't, it was like I didn't make a good deal, but I
Mm-hmm.
executed, And so the next time around I upped it to like maybe a grand.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next and then I eventually, I mean, I hope this is okay for me saying, but maybe like the next year I was like, no, this is a $2,000. I think it was like 1,800. It was $1,800 quote.
Mm-hmm.
And so the gig of doing UMF is really exciting to me because I learned a lot. I learned how
Mm-hmm.
to hire other people. The first year, actually the very first year, the reason that $400 one was also exciting for me is I double booked myself. I actually triple booked myself.
Oh gosh.
Um, and I couldn't be there
Mm-hmm.
because the thing I booked myself with was a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, so I had to do what I am about to tell you, which is what was exciting about this is I reached out. I had to pitch to the city of Plano. I had to make my first pitch to a city
Mm-hmm.
at that. Um, and then I had to figure out how to execute without me being there.
Mm-hmm.
So I this was a different level of business. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I operated like a general contractor here, and then I did it. And I obviously there was some things that did be done better. And then but I made deliverables and I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I upped the price and did it again. Upped the price and did it again. And upped the price and did it again. Quarantine hit, and so there was a pause at one point. But yeah, that was really exciting to me business wise, execution
Interesting.
wise, manager wise. And then lastly, exciting, man, I have to say that this rap show that I did all of 2024 while taking on this job as a full-time video producer, pretty much video creator, salary, made it to where I couldn't make any content for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
this was the first time I was ever okay with that
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
because I was doing things, I was creating, and a lot of the creativity was in how am I creating value and also how am I making something interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And those skills mattered to me enough for me to find creativity and figuring out how to do that. So I have to say that This rap, I started working with this coworker at Apple after I stopped working at Apple, because he was hosting rap shows once a month, and he was bringing on different local rappers and artists and hip hop artists. And I liked the way he curated the artists, because they aren't it wasn't like industry stuff. It was like people who were like low key artists who had some talent and were passionate about what they were doing enough for me to get into what they were doing, not because they were produced at a high level, but because I liked them as artists. And so with this, I was able to like indulge in a culture that I already like found have roots in, but bring my creative storytelling, my visual, my love for the music, my love for the people, like, and for other artists doing their things and capturing them and helping elevate them. Like I got to bring everything into one thing there, the same way I did at my job too, for the record, but that's besides the point. And I just working with people who like, yeah, it just felt like the most centralized way I've ever been able to apply myself with my video ever, more than even in dance. I'm getting to work with artists. I'm being an artist working with artists, and I'm getting paid to do it. I mean, what else could I ask for? And long story short here, or to wrap this up, is that same guy who's help host these events. There's many people. There's events called Restoring the Feeling. Well, this guy goes by Hendrix. I call him Hendo. He is on the verge of releasing music and things like that, and he's kind of been absent for a while, but from his community and his scene. But he hit me up, a photographer that I really respect named Moody, and a creative director who goes by AJ the Alchemist, and he had us three be his creative team to help roll out his new project. And so I'm basically working on music and maybe album rollout stuff, and it feels like I'm getting to do that in a market with my marketing sense, with my creative sense, with my like literal passion and interest sense, all in one place with people I respect, including the artist himself. So like I'm currently working on, and I'm telling you one thing, I'm still late on everything, but I'm going through the creative process as honestly as possible with artists who get it. So like right now I'm in the middle of like probably one of the most exciting gigs I've ever had.
That's so cool.
Long-winded answer, but yeah.
No. The evolution of that is crazy though. The evolution of like where you were first starting to what you're like getting now, or what you're exposed to now. And you know, they say that the only factor that luck plays in success is luck of the opportunity, but then you still have to do it. You still have to knock it out of the park.
Yeah, you know, success is when you know, when preparation meets when preparation meets opportunity is where you find success. And I guess I have to add on one more thing to your question then, because one exciting gig that I got was only exciting for one reason. I got hit up by a brand on Instagram that had 1.3 million followers, and they had shelves in Nordstrom and racks in Nordstrom or something like that. Like basically they had placements, floor placements. And they wanted me to show up at the mall where they were doing like a cool little pop-up in the middle of the department store for the brand that had like over 1 million followers on socials, with like Paris Hilton's like involved and things like that. I'm like, what? They hit me up solely off of my Instagram accounts. I think it was my professional account through that. And they said they'd pay me $600 to film for 2 hours. And I'm like, oh, I've never had this kind of thing happen before. Like my content's good enough to attract a brand on some level, at least. Long story short, I did terrible. I didn't like the way the footage looked. The lighting was crap. They didn't even want me to do I was supposed to do it twice, and they didn't hire me for the second one. It wasn't me editing. There was a lot of things there. I'm like, why? How can I assure that I get hired the second time next time? And that's where I got really obsessed with skill acquisition. And that was 2021, around the same time, or these courses, these things like that. And I started becoming hypercritical and problem solving and things like that. So that was one more. Cool. I just had to put it out there. Cool. You made me think of that, but yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah. Oh, there's so much to unpack there. I'm not going to unpack it right now. I'm holding myself back on saying a lot of things because I want.
I know, so we can keep it moving. I get
it. So we can keep it moving, because I could be here for half a day.
Yeah. Well, maybe you'll have to chop it up.
Maybe, who knows? Nah, this one's going up in full regardless.
Okay, say less.
There was one, but you've already talked about this throughout the entire thing. But I do want to make a point and ask the question: is like any lessons you've taken from dance to apply to your personal life, and vice versa? Any lessons you've taken from life to apply to dance? And I think this entire time we've been talking about different lessons you've taken from different parts of dance, applied it to life, and life to dance. And so I think you don't even have to answer that. This entire like conversation is really an answer to that question, because there were way too many things.
Could I make an attempt at making a concise answer
Sure.
to that question?
Sure.
First of all, everything in dance has related to life, down all the way from practical things all the way up to, a spirit on a spiritual level. The way I approached, at one point I was struggling at work at Apple, because I was going in there and I was hating everything. I was hating the job, I was hating everyone, and I was hating customers. Like, I was just being pissy. And I remembered how in dance I would get a song in a session that had no real expectation out of it other than to get into the zone, right?
Yep.
Or even in a battle where I did have expectations, but yet the goal was to get into the zone. And I thought, well, why don't I just do that at work? Whatever, bro, just get into the zone of the work, of the people, of all of it. Get in the zone. What does that mean? Be present and like tap into the people and enjoy yourself. Find the beauty in the song. You know what I mean? Find the beauty in the day. Like, carry yourself like you're curious enough to go to work, at least, if for no other reason, and then there's so many other ones. There's so many other lessons, but that's just like, I think that might be one of the biggest ones. Go throughout the day, because when you dance, you don't have to dance. You don't have to dance. and every time you dance, you may not have felt like it before, but you wanted to enough to do it anyways. And so you figure out how and why and what to do, and you make the decision to do it anyways, because it's worth it. And if dance was worth it, then apply that. If that's how if that's how I can make myself grow there, and then okay, do it in dance. And my best dance videos my best dance videos on Instagrams are the ones with the best captions underneath. It might be the worst. It might be the worst.
I hate
It might
captions
be
so
the
much. I hate captions so much.
dude.
We're not
It
getting into
might
this. We're
be
not
the
getting into this.
worst. It might be the worst dance video ever. But if I had a good caption under there, it's probably because that round meant a lot to me and it applied to my life. Some of my favorite dance videos are the ones where I related however I felt and whatever my experience was in that dance round to just whatever I was going through in life. And I have to say that was very consistent all throughout my life since 2010. So
nice. I like that. The top people you'd want to see in an exhibition battle, any style, in unlimited rounds, or top people you want to go rounds with.
I want to see. That's a good question. I don't think about that a lot, actually. I don't think about those kind of things a lot, actually.
Yep.
It's funny you say that, but sometimes I do. When a battle comes up, I'm like, whoa, this is cool. You know what I mean? But I'd like to see like an old school unpredictable go against Tommy, aka Trey T. And that's like people who are not probably very I don't know, not everyone knows all of them at this point in time. Maybe because like I don't know how involved they are. But Tommy, I haven't talked to him in a while. I actually messaged him the other day, but me and Tommy went to school together. We grew up together, NBC. But yeah, I'd love to see that. I'd also love to see probably Canvas versus, like, this is gonna sound weird, Prince Wayne. And in a I don't know in a what kind of battle, but I'd love to see them both get in their zone. Maybe them with maybe like old school, like Memphis versus everybody style. Like they both choose a track and they both have to dance to it, both tracks. I'd love to see that with them. And that'd be so fun. Outside of that, I really think that's exhibition wise. That's probably something that comes to the top of my mind. For myself, who would I love to go rounds with? I need to go rounds with Mark tutting. Here's the thing. I feel like I would choke. I feel like I'd choke because his strong suit is my weakness. He has this extreme amount of clarity, these infinite
Yes.
pathways that do not disconnect.
I've seen him.
Um,
I've seen him roll. What was it? Do a not a somersault, but like a forward roll into a tut. I'm pretty sure I've seen that
that's
from him.
he does. He does. He does. I mean, I've seen him do. I mean, dude, and I also grew up with dancing with him too. He's all my generation, but yeah, I grew up with dancing with him and Jason, Tommy and Charlie
Mm-hmm.
separately, and then yeah, it was kind of crazy. But I'd love to go to rounds with Wonder, Mark,
Nice.
aka Wonder. Yeah,
Good answer. Good answer.
and then wave rounds with Jason. I need to go. I
Yeah.
need to get some wave rounds with Jason.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, if you were, this is the last one. So if you were sent back in time to when you started dance, would you do anything different?
Mm. I don't know if I could do anything different, but I think I would train even. I don't know. I don't know, man. I think the only thing that I could think to have done different is, I mean, I danced a lot. I think I did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would dance more.
Yeah.
I would just dance even more. I would never, I would be, I would, here's the thing. I always wanted to care less about what people thought and I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't. I didn't know how. I
Mm-hmm.
never knew how.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten better at it now, but most of the time though, it's like, oh, I wish I cared less about what people thought. So I
Mm-hmm.
would care less about what people thought and then in turn dance more.
Mm-hmm.
But in hindsight, when navigating the thing that we call dance, street dance culture, battles, sessions, all that freestyle dance stuff, I would travel more. Would have traveled more.
I ask everybody on the podcast what's one advice you'd like to give to somebody listening, and one of the ones he gave was travel. Just go, like, travel, regardless of if it's for dance or for pleasure or for vacation, etc. Just go travel.
I believe that is true. I believe that is true. You need to get outside of your little bubble. You need to realize the world's a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It can get a breath of fresh air that way. There's two ways that there's two ways to there's two ways to peel the blinders off, the ones that are stuck on, right? There's two ways to create space, to create aura for yourself to exist more within so you don't feel so stuck,
Mm-hmm.
so tight. There's two ways to like expand that world in which you can breathe within, right? and
Mm-hmm.
and one of them is like just nitty gritty, like making space,
Mm-hmm.
right? In time and with time and energy and physically, right? But the other way, and then just like building momentum, and then over time, like more of what you're doing is for you
Mm-hmm.
and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
All those things, like your world becomes more your world, like owning your day-to-day life. Like that's how you do that. But the other way is traveling.
Yep.
The
You
other
know.
way is go somewhere and see that the world is bigger and just step the fuck out of your
Mm-hmm.
outside of your own bubble. Literally forget growing the bubble for a second. Just exit the thing.
Your friend who just like accepts everything at face value or doesn't have to think too deeply into it, and he just kind of does things. Um, like, for, I don't know, if maybe for someone like you and someone like me, it has to be explained why you should travel, why you should go to these places, why you should experience and have new experiences and stuff, right? My wife just wants to go places, to go see new things. Like every time she says, I want to travel because I just want new experiences. And I'm like, what does that mean? I ask her to clarify for me, like, okay, so when you say experiences, what do you mean by experiences? Do you want to like go see different things? Do you want to go like eat different things? Do you want to go witness different, like what inside the different cultures do you want to witness? Like, I'm asking for like detail and clarity. And she's just like, I just want to go places. And so I get so jealous. I get
Yep.
so upset that I'm like, why can't I just take the step back and just want to do it? Do it for the sake of doing it. I don't have to have a reason, or I don't have to be explained. This is the benefit of doing this. This is your cost benefit analysis of doing this. What is the opportunity cost of you? What of
Uh-huh.
you doing? I don't need. I don't need to. I
You
don't
don't
have
need
to.
that.
I don't. I don't.
You
I
don't.
shouldn't need
Yeah,
these things. I
you're
don't.
not invest. It's not.
Yeah.
You can like, you know, it's funny because same thing, same. You're right. Like totally agree. I struggle with overthinking, pretty much overthinking,
Yeah.
right? And I've been told I was overthinking, but maybe and I come to this conclusion. Well, maybe some people are underthinking. How about
Mm-hmm.
that? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, who are you to tell me I'm overthinking? In those
Mm-hmm.
situations, I think what I'm realizing now, and maybe I'm getting this out of this podcast. Maybe this podcast is maybe this episode of with us talking is helping me understand exactly this, along with everything I've been going through over the past couple of years, and
Mm-hmm.
being living with that friend who doesn't need all the extra explanation, along
Mm-hmm.
with understanding how your girlfriend doesn't, sorry, your significant other, your wife, right?
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Along with how your wife doesn't need to ask, she just wants to go, and so she'll go, and that's good enough reason for her.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'm learning from those people is that, or I guess one thing I'm learning from those people is to try that out, at least,
Mm-hmm.
is to literally just try that out. And I
Mm-hmm.
think what I'm learning from this conversation right now is maybe it's not necessary to, maybe we're taking the skill that problem solving skill about behaviors we want to change, and using it as friction and barriers to things that we desire and want, when we
Yep.
shouldn't do that. Maybe the idea is that we only really need to know more
Mm-hmm.
when we are when we see the need to shrink that habit loop.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But if it's something like when do you justify a desire to do something, that when do you decide to act on a desire to do something? And I think the desire, and that's what I was getting to earlier, is the
Mm-hmm.
desire is reason enough to act.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's reason enough to act. Obviously, there's going to be some caveats and limitations there. You can't just, you have to like identify you have to at least identify an intention,
Mm-hmm.
right? At least one intention. But if you can sit there and have one intention, and the desire just keeps butting at you, and you can tie one intention to it, then go ahead, act. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I say
I
intention. So not desired outcome, but intention.
yeah. I so part of what I've been working on recently, and it's one of the lessons I've learned while living now with my wife. When previously we were long distance for 4-ish years. It
Yeah.
before I mean we were dating before that at UTD. Then we went long distance, and then we moved in together. Is you know because I'm like this, right? It's part of my risk averseness. I need all the details. I want to know why I'm doing it. What am I getting out of it? Am I going to waste my time? Right? Time is a concept that I'm so aggressively aware of down to the micro minute that it makes acting. I'm unable to act because I haven't figured out like what am I getting out of spending my time here versus here versus here
Mm,
versus here.
back to
It's
the
something.
bubble.
It is probably the most constricting thing of mine right now, as much as I love being so focused on time because I get to understand what am I spending my time here, what am I giving up by doing, etc. I like those like insights, but it's also affecting the way I behave.
Mm-hmm.
So what I started doing was, well, I do two things. I used to hate saying yes to everybody, and so I started saying no to everything immediately, to then give myself the mental freedom to think through if I actually want to do it and then say yes afterwards, versus
Same.
saying yes and then saying no. You say no first,
Right.
then say yes.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, so what happened was she messaged me one day while we were at work, and she said, "Hey, do you want to go snow tubing with one of her friends who's going to be in town with their significant other?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go snow tubing?" And it's like at the Poconos Mountains, it's like an hour away, etc. I immediately
Mm-hmm.
replied yes. I didn't think about it because I don't know what snow tubing is. I don't know where Poconos Mountains is. I don't know what that entails. I don't know anything, but I identified that as one of the things where like if I read too much into it, if I take too much time to analyze and think and overthink it, I will convince myself to not want to go.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather just commit and say, yeah, let's do it. And then so then what happened was we left like the day we left, I forgot to buy gloves for my hands because it's in a cold place. The jacket that I wore on top of my already sweater, on top of my already long sleeve shirt, still wasn't warm enough, and I didn't take my big puffer jacket. So I already made like because I didn't pre-plan like I usually do. Maybe I made a little bit of like mistakes and forgot things or whatever it is. But when I was talking to Ayushi about it, I was like, honestly, I'm fine with that because we're still
Exactly.
going to be here and we're still going to enjoy the time and enjoy our time here. It's not life threatening. We're fine, and we're still going to go and have fun. And then next time, if we ever do this again, we'll correct it next time if we ever do this again. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Was I cold? Yes. Did what was I very, very cold? Yes. Did my hands freeze? Yes. But it was still really fun. We had a fun time, etc. It didn't matter that, I hadn't pre-planned and pre-researched and
But you
knew
did
everything about
there?
it.
You surrendered. I'm really bad
Yeah.
at making. I'm really bad at making time for or protecting time for things that matter to me. So I do the same thing. I'll say no to a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
now, especially, which was hard for me to adapt to because then now I feel more absent from things, and it's a whole lifestyle change, right?
Yep.
Because it's a lot of my socialness came from saying yes to everything, and now
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying no to everything, and I don't know how to act.
Same.
But in situations where now I'm like, well, what do I say yes to? And
Mm-hmm.
I've come full circle to say, well, I got to say yes to some stuff. I got to do some things. And also I don't need to know everything about everything I'm doing too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I realized what you just said was basically you were just, it's an example of realizing that making those sorts of mistakes by having those sorts of failures by doing the thing is actually a lot less stressful than trying to prevent them from happening.
And then if it still happens and you get into this, like, you get in your head of like, oh, I put all this work into this not happening, and then it still happened. Oh my God, did I
Yes.
waste time?
And what we
Yeah.
think is going to happen and what we think is going to happen is that even if we don't prepare, we think that if we don't prepare that we're going to get there and that we're going to miss out on what it could have been because we didn't prepare good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, bro, just do it again.
Yep.
Just do it again.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
my girlfriend got me a ticket to New York to see J. Cole, and I got
Mm-hmm.
in for $1 because he did $1 and a dream at
Nice.
Madison Square Garden. And I wasn't gonna make the call on my own. I wasn't gonna make the call to fly there and to do all this stuff on my own because I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
it's too much.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
like I can't wrap my brain around this. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? But like I talked about it so much that the roommates convinced her too that like no, like Zach would do, like if you buy it, he'll go.
Yeah.
And so she did. And I went and I just figured it all out as I went, and I just
Yep.
figured it all out. And not everything was perfect. But I hyper obsessed over it, like when doing it, which
Mm-hmm.
made me present when doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and which means I got the most out of it, even if I made mistakes and I didn't critique myself
Yeah.
about what I didn't do right, because I just figured like I wasn't going to go anyway. So this is better than not going. Like I
Mm-hmm.
surrendered, like you're saying, like still it was nice. And then next time I go to New York, I can know how to go to New York better.
Yep.
Like just find this last thing. Look, man, I'm gonna tie this all together. If you haven't watched, have you watched Silver Linings?
I have not watched Silver Linings.
Really simple, almost looks mainstream, maybe doesn't look that deep, especially to the naked eye. It's very deep in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Script is amazing, characters are amazing, plot is amazing. I mean, very simple, kind of subtle, but find the silver linings and things.
Mm.
You gotta watch that movie.
Okay.
Gotta watch
On
that
the
movie
list.
with what's his name? Is it Bradley Cooper
It probably is Bradley Cooper. Yeah.
and the old girl, something Lawrence, Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, dude, amazing, bro. So, anyways, I
Nice.
say that, and they're a great acting combo, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, um,
Amazing.
I think we could wrap up a lot of what we're saying, how we started it, what we talked about in the middle, and even here at the end, by understanding that movie.
Yeah.
I
I
think
love
that
that.
movie
I'll
is
put it on the list.
I think that movie's probably informed a lot of how I'm speaking in this
Mm-hmm.
conversation.
Nice. I like to see that influence. I like to see that
Yeah.
that little bit of history. So that
Yeah.
was it for viewer questions.
Yeah.
With
Oh,
every podcast, I like to tie it up with 2 questions at the
okay.
end that I like to ask everybody, whether or not the other questions were, repetitive. Have you read or listened to anything interesting lately?
Yes, I watched. My favorite podcast is Diary of a CEO.
By Stephen
Um,
Bartlett.
yep, by Stephen Bartlett.
That's the
For
one I have on my list to start, and I've never listened to one of his because
It's so
I
funny,
I just feel like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm not even trying to be a CEO. Should I even listen to this podcast
bro.
that's called How to Be a CEO?
Dude,
I think that's where it started from.
if you're the things that you're talking about, well, yeah, I guess you're right. You're talking about solopreneur things and digital products. I started off by thinking I thought maybe I would want to do some of those, and I still do, but I I'm still kind of in the phase of just being a sponge and soaking
Mm,
everything up, and I'm okay with that. And I think it's actually working.
mm-hmm,
The micro learning thing is working for me right now, and I'm finding places to apply some of it now. So
mm-hmm,
I'm okay with the level at which I'm micro learning. I will say this: I his stuff. I have this. I turns out I have a serious interest in entrepreneurship, and if you think you do too, in any facet, that podcast is definitely game changer for me. So I mean, there's so many. A lot of it's clickbaity titles, and I don't necessarily like that.
mm-hmm.
He has really popular people on there, and he
Yeah.
he experimented with some of the guests that wasn't my favorite. That's all good and dandy because there's some episodes in there that are just absolute gems, and he has
Yeah.
put me on to people who have ways of thinking that make me feel so valid.
Mm-hmm.
And when I watch some of those episodes, and I'm like, wow, I'm doing the right thing because I can follow along with what they're saying at
Yeah.
least. And now I'm with my job, I can implement some of those things. Anyways, I'm just saying, I
Yeah.
just know that his recent Alex Hormozi one is the most. Alex Hormozi was on some probably serious tangent ADHD type of
Mm-hmm.
level, but Stephen Bartlett brought that out of him. But they were great tangents, and he got in the
Mm-hmm.
zone. And maybe some of them are hard to follow, but man, I'm getting a lot out of them in terms of entrepreneurship. And then there's
When you
also there's some deep episodes too that are more about yourself and your human behavior and how you maneuver too. So, yeah.
no, when you were talking about back when we were in your notes and your insight on your threads post, like the whole thing read to me like a Hormozi post. Like
Mm.
even like I thought of that then, and so to know that you have consumed Hormozi content, he's the one who in 23 I started listening to, that I was like, I started my journey back into creativity and wanting to build something through his
Mm-hmm.
kind of like no bullshit approach to things. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna fucking suck. It's gonna suck really bad. Like your life is gonna suck for many years, and then one day you're gonna look up and see everything that you've done. His commentary on, I had a I was making YouTube videos daily, as like those like mini 20-15 minute like videos that he would make, and he said I did that daily because I could not stand to think that I wasn't giving someone like something that I experienced that I wasn't sharing with somebody else that may help somebody else. I wasn't sharing that daily. He made videos daily for 7 years before his thing blew up. And
Yep.
it occurred to me, I was
Like Gary V.
like Gary, and I was like, I always remind myself, I'm like, dude, you're in like year 2 or 3 of you doing what you're doing. Maybe not even years, because you keep stopping and starting. So you haven't done anything
Mm.
consistently for a year, really. Like maybe
He's
22 to
always switching it up
23,
and adapting. Yeah.
and then you stop, and then you try again, and you stop and you try again. So maybe in collective time value, you're in year 2 still. You haven't even hit a season of doing this, and so why are you expecting any sort of success or like like aggressive exponential growth or any of that stuff, right? You cannot. Like, I go back. I also listen to like sometimes you hear Mr. Beast say he's like,
He was also on there too, and it
yep,
was really
exactly.
crazy to watch. But continue.
And
Yeah.
he said, people ask me about like making a YouTube video. He's like, and then he asked, have you uploaded one? They're like, no. He's like, come talk to me when you upload 100.
Facts.
Before you even think about wanting to make a good video, upload 100 videos.
Yep.
And so like I think about those and have to like redirect my frustration or like even like
Because it
disregard it.
comes down to
I'm like
what are
you're
you
like
willing to let
like
stop you?
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because like you said, you redirect your frustration away from what are you redirecting your frustration away from and back to? Do you think in that situation? Because I have an inkling for myself.
Well, I'm frustrated with this work that I'm putting in with this product that I think is good, it is comparable to other products on the market when you think of a
Mm,
video. And I'm like, okay, cool. I have like a decently, like, I have a good thumbnail that's basically on track with other booktube thumbnails. I don't feel like it's oversaturated or overexposed. Like the picture's good, the image is good, the little text, everything works the way I expecting it to work based on data. Okay, cool. The title, simple title. I have fantasy in there, I have books in there, I have review in there, I have a number in there, everything that other people have. Okay, cool. My video, it's crisp, it's clean, I'm talking, maybe my oration is good, I have a good set of books, all these things, right? 10 views. Okay, so what did I do wrong? You know? So it's always like it's, and you know, a little bit, like you said, a little bit of criticism is good because you want to like analyze what maybe something there was deficient in and then correct it for next time. But then sometimes it's just keep doing the same thing. Maybe it's
yeah.
just, maybe that hasn't hit for someone yet. Maybe that hasn't hit
Right.
the algorithm yet. Maybe that hasn't hit something yet, and you just have to keep doing it before something picks up, etc. You don't know. You can't control all the variables, right? So if there's, so I keep trying. I keep getting frustrated that I'm controlling all the variables I can control, but what I'm expecting as an outcome is not happening. And that's when the frustration hits. And I'm like, okay, well,
Exactly.
sorry, sucks. You can't get frustrated. Your goal was not views this year. Your goal was consistency. You can worry about views next year.
And
Like,
yet you're letting frustration about results interrupt your goal of being consistent, most likely, if I'm saying that correctly.
right. And so like I think
Yeah,
I had to skip a video last week.
that's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like I was traveling like 2 weeks ago, and this is actually one of the most fun ones I made this year. But like I took a video in a park, just a park, and I just took my camera and made a video, right? And I think it's the one you commented on saying this idea was dope. We like
Yeah.
do more stuff like this. And that was great because I was very impromptu and I was like, I just need to get it out. So I recorded that on like Sunday. I edited it Sunday night, Monday, got it up on Tuesday. Thumbnail for it wasn't the best, but I knew that it wasn't the best going in. Maybe I could have like corrected that before then. I updated it now,
Right.
etc. Um, but I had to skip last week's because when I flew back on like a Saturday, and by then I was already like, I have too many things to do. I literally I don't even have an idea of a video to get out by Tuesday. Um, because I hadn't slept Friday night. I was on fumes on Saturday. I was refreshed Sunday, but then I had to get prepped for the week for work and other things. So
And
I
then also,
had,
people like potentially people like me aren't controllable either, and so I might have been a part of your video process there. Just so you, for the
no,
record,
you're fine, you're fine, you're fine,
I
you're
might
fine, you're
have.
fine.
I just want to put that out there to the audience, like,
Um,
that's how it goes sometimes.
that's how it goes. But okay, I didn't get a long form video out then, which is my goal for like getting a long form video every week.
Yeah.
But I had the opportunity. I got some book mail from an author friend of mine that I admire, and so I made a whole like just little like video about like on an unboxing, and I did it in a very like, not just me opening a book and saying here's a book, right? It
Yeah.
was this whole like thing that I made, and I sent it to him, and I was like, do you think this is good? He's like, I love it. I mean, I posted it and I tagged him and everything, but like that was like my video for the week because that was the thing I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so even though it wasn't a long form video, it was still a short form video. Didn't do well. I think I could have done different things in terms of lighting, etc., audio in the background. Who knows? All these different variables, right? Forget it. The fact is that I still got a video out that I put time into.
Mm,
So I feel like I feel like I still achieved the consistency variable there, regardless.
mm.
Um, so I just keep having to remind myself, don't get frustrated on the result. Your goal is your intention is not the result. Your intention is the consistency. So as long as you got that
Absolutely.
done, next one, move
Yep.
on to the next one.
It's a behavior. It's still focusing on behaviors. The
Right.
behavior of doing the thing, at the end of the day, is what you're sharpening,
Yeah.
and that's what produces results. Not typically strategy isn't to be credited. I feel like for results, it's the behaviors that go into
Yeah.
it.
I think
But yeah,
that's also why, like, you get a lot of people online saying, hey, I'll make thumbnails for you, I'll make catchy like viral thumbnails for you, I'll do SEO for your channel. I actually got approached by somebody who offered me to like do that, who offered me like, hey, $150 a month, I'll do like all of your videos, I'll go all the way back in your channel and fix all the SEO, fix all the titles, fix all the thumbnails, etc. um and he said within 2 to 3 months you know, you can expect a different result.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
I thought to myself, I was like, I did the whole thing. I was like, do I want to pay for this course? Do I want to pay for this service? Do I want to do all these things right? And so the idea was like, do I one trust that I'm going to get value out of this expenditure? And there's this current block in my brain that isn't going away, that I want to achieve it on my own, because I feel like the achievement is better if I do it on my own. If I succeed on my own is better than if I succeed with like help. And
Yeah.
I keep telling myself, like, you haven't proven to yourself that you know what you're doing on your own yet to pay someone else to do it still. Like, I haven't. My YouTube channel is still not at 1,000 subscribers. I have yet to hit 1,000 view video. I have yet to consistently hit over 100. Well, for like 3 or maybe 5 videos in a row from December through January, I was hitting like over 100 views each. But then I made an upload timing error, and then all the algorithm just fucked me. So I haven't gone back to that yet, right? So I haven't proved to myself with the evidence to say, you know what you're doing, to then offload that to someone else. And someone else might take the approach, okay, well, maybe if you don't know what you're doing, it's better to pay somebody who's better at it to then maybe succeed faster and maybe get the results you want faster. But for me, it's more important about the skill set. My currency is my skill set. And so, my skill set's my currency. And so I'm very focused on, I want to be able to do it myself. As once I can get this channel monetized, I can use any sort of money the channel makes to do these things in the back, right?
Yeah.
But I want to prove to myself that I can do it myself. It's also why I have yet to call any, like, I do this, like, I could very, very easily ask authors that I have introduced myself through my like reviews and videos through, and ask them, would you mind just like talking with me on my podcast? Or like, can I talk to you as an author? Like, I would love to ask you some questions and talk to you about your book, and like all these different things. I would love, like, to authors or people that I want to talk to.
Yeah.
But I've said no to myself, because I was like, until you can prove to yourself and then an author that you can add value by bringing them viewers, by knowing what a good video is, by knowing how to market a good video, by having a monetized channel that shows you maybe hopefully know what you're doing, I don't want to bring an author on yet, because I want to prove to myself also, the people watching me aren't watching me for the author, they're watching me for me. And so there's a audience I can bring for the author, and then if there's any audience for the author that they bring to me, that's also cool. But that's my value add, right? Like there's a reason why they want to talk to me, why they want to talk to me. It's not just because here's a random guy with a channel, right? There's people watching.
But I think I've felt, one thing I like about what you're doing with this podcast is that it's collaborative, right? And I think collaboration is probably one of 3 things that is a way around doing it all yourself. Learning by doing it all yourself. That's one way. That's one of 4 ways, right? The other 3 ways is by collaborating with other people, and you get to maybe increase your odds of skill acquisition through collaboration. Or one of the other ways is to do it for someone else.
Yep.
Like you said, make thumbnails for you and things like that. Do it for someone else, to where the pressure isn't on. I do a podcast now at work, and I don't have to, and I've gotten to gain skills, and I don't have to be so scared about the success of it or earning anything really, other than going for it. Because I'm going to take what I learned from it and then apply my skill acquisition to how I really want it to work for the authors, if you will, that I really want to have on, or that want to be on. Right. Cause now that's where I want to be good at. So, and then I think the last way to get around it is to, the last way to get around the idea of wanting to get good at it yourself is just finding someone else to do it for. I guess finding someone else to do it. It's only those 3 ways: finding someone else to do it for, collaborating, and then just doing it yourself. But that's how you gain skills, is the point. Actually, there you go.
Yeah.
3 ways to gain skills. It really sounds like your bottleneck is in the skill acquisition part. And it's easy to get down on yourself when that's the case, because that's how I've always felt. But I learned that doing it by myself was why there was a bottleneck.
Yep.
Community is where growth occurs. That's, if you look up the definition of the word culture and cultivate, because they're the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cultures are cultivated, right? I mean, if you think about it in a biological sense, like things grow, literally just multiply and they create.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They create,
Mm-hmm.
they cultivate. That's what culture is. That's why people learn to dance similar to each other, and that's why they
Mm-hmm.
grow better. My favorite rappers were always in groups. My favorite artists came out of the cities with other rappers at the same time. That's why
Mm-hmm.
West Coast is popping off. That's why Houston popped off altogether.
Yep.
That's why East Coast. That's why they sprout, because they're together as communities. They're
Mm-hmm.
collaborative. They're friction. So I just say that to say, I think skill acquisition comes from lots of things, including community.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes counterintuitively, wanting to know how to do it yourself doesn't mean learning by yourself. That's what I've been practicing.
You've given me a lot to think about, which is interesting. Because I've had this conversation with other people in the past, and I've still landed on I'm not going to do it, and now feels like I'm slightly wavering. Um,
And I'd love to hear more about that thought process, because I know how your brain's going to go, and I'd love to hear those things that come up and say, yeah,
mm-hmm.
but I want to hear those at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So let me make some notes, and I'd love to
Yeah.
talk about it,
I'm
because
no, I think
I do that.
I'm gonna have to think through this, and next time
Yeah,
we chat, I will let you know.
yeah.
Um, the this is
Last questions, right?
this is this is the last question, but I don't know when it's gonna end, so it's
Yeah, we'll
fine.
see.
I ask everybody this, every single person I ask, or comes on the podcast, I ask them this: what is one advice you'd like to give to somebody listening about anything?
Do hard things. If it's not hard, it's probably not as valuable. Do hard things. If it's easy, what are you getting out of it? If you don't have a good answer, then do something that's more hard than that thing.
Mm-hmm.
um, and then if you still want to do it, then do it in a more difficult way. Turn it up a notch. But do hard things. Don't. I'm not saying everything you do needs to be hard, but if you're not doing anything that's hard, you're gonna end up miserable. You're gonna end up miserable, because life isn't about being. I'm sorry. Whoa, that's crazy. I'm about to say life isn't about. Uh, life isn't about. No, seriously, life isn't about being on autopilot. Life isn't about being optimized, because you do the hard things to get optimized, and then you're optimized, and you're not going to do any more hard things. No, do more hard things, optimize more, whatever. But because when it's not about being on autopilot. It's not about coasting. It's it's not about check. It's not about being so efficient that you're checked out. It's not about being so productive that everything's taken care of. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's not about those things. It's
Mm-hmm.
about being checked in. And the reason you check in is because you're doing something hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being present. And the reason you're present is because something is out of the norm, not in the norm. Because you know what I mean? The reason we scroll TikTok and Facebook videos and threads and sometimes even the reason why we micro learn is because we want to see something nuanced. We want the most nuanced thing to stimulate us with as much ease as possible. That's what we want. We want the nuanced thing, but the same way that we want really good food, you don't put it in the microwave. You cook the shit out
Cook
of it.
that shit on a stove top.
You
Yes,
know what I'm saying?
sir.
Yeah,
You
you
cut
might
that shit
marinate.
yourself. You season it
Exactly.
yourself. You marinate it yourself. You cook
And
it
if you don't
yourself.
know how,
You
then you
burn it
go get it
yourself.
cooked.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever. Exactly. You go through the process. You might even be able to go. And here's the thing: you might say, "Well, nah. If I want something good, I'll go to the steakhouse and spend $100 on a meal." Yeah, but okay, yeah. exactly. But it's not like that. You put that shit in the microwave. You worked how many hours of a wage to pay for something like that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you had to drive there
Mm-hmm.
and get it, and
Yeah.
then you can't do it sustainably. So if you want it more, then you start to learn how to cook and you
Yep.
do the hard thing. But for the good food, if you want good
Mm-hmm.
food consistently, you learn how to cook.
Yep.
You do the hard thing. Or you can just eat microwave food for the rest of your life. And if that's what you want to do, okay, maybe you're getting something good somewhere else in life.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where maybe you're just taking the L and the sacrifice on
Yeah.
the food, but don't microwave everything.
Yeah.
do don't
Don't
microwave
microwave everything. No,
everything.
no, 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 no. But
Yeah,
don't
not
microwave
everything
everything.
needs to be
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
autopilot and efficient.
Yeah. Yep.
Do hard things.
Yep.
That's
Awesome.
what I'm working on. That's my self advice right now.
No,
Don't coast. Don't be
I think
lazy.
I think that's great. And
Checked in.
as on brand of this podcast, I'm going to follow that up with something else before we end this podcast,
Yes, sir.
because when you were saying that, right, I thought back to 2021. So I moved back in with my parents in 2020 in COVID. In 2021, I was living with them and I was starting my full-time job right out of college, and we were all remote. And so life was extremely easy because I was just in my room, I was working, mom would cook the food, they would do the laundry, dad would iron the clothes, they would fold the clothes. They didn't even require me to fold my own clothes.
Exactly. Yeah.
They would do everything in the house. Maybe your dad would ask me to vacuum the house every now and then, or maybe help with the mowing and stuff. But that's about it. I didn't have any bills. I didn't have anything to do, and so it made it. Life was very easy. I would just after work go work out, come home, play Genshin Impact online, and waste money and time and shit like that, right? Um, and it. I think that's when I started trying to figure out what else can I do. I wanna I want to create something. I want to do something. I like, you know, and it is nice. It is very nice to have the situation where you can lean on your parents to take care of things that maybe they're already doing that they wouldn't mind taking care
Yes.
of yours, so that you have more capacity and space to think about other things, which is why I could think about creating and doing other things. And I got into finance that year, like investing that year. I got into creating all the stuff that year and everything too, only because they helped me take away some of the other burdens that someone living alone would have, which I then later did have. Um, but I realized like, okay, I at some point I was like, life is really easy right now. I'm just making money. I'm not spending it. I'm saving, and I'm not doing anything though. I'm not learning anything new. I'm not using my time to better myself. I feel like
Mm,
I am autopiloting to an extent, and I
yeah.
don't want that. And I did
You
not
know,
know that would happen until I was in that situation. And so, with
exactly. It's
everything that
kind of
we've
like
said
comfort.
here, it's comfortably complacent. Is the phrase I like to use.
Comfortably complacent because comfort isn't bad, but it is if you become complacent,
It is, because then
especially.
you stop moving,
Yeah.
you stop progressing. And like everything that we've said today, it's really easy to say it, but the only reason where it's easy for us to say it is because we've done it. It's hard
Hmm.
to realize it and internalize it unless you've done it.
Exactly.
Only way
And
to
it's
do it
some
is to put yourself through hard things. Going back to that.
exactly. And that was your point. I guess at the end of the day, it's like the worst part about having resources that you aren't utilizing and maximizing is that you don't understand the value of those resources until you don't have them.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have to backtrack, find a way to get the resources and then use them
Mm-hmm.
when you could when and then while managing the emotional stress of realizing you didn't use them when you had them, you know.
Right.
Like that's a whole conundrum. And I say that to say you know,
Mm-hmm.
I would have this nice thing and this
Mm-hmm.
resource, and then I don't have it anymore. And I realized I was just comfortable and when I had it, and I could have done X, Y, and Z, and now because I need it. But you have to encounter pain to
Yeah.
want to make change. And I don't know, maybe that's morbid, but that's what I believe.
No,
Uh,
I think that
yeah,
that's in line with what most people have said in terms of growing and changing. Is you
yeah.
have to find a way to not inflict pain on yourself, but go do hard things that require
Do
struggle.
hard things. Yeah.
Um,
And I would like to add just one thing to that: do hard things. To not just the little like it. I just want to make one really like important point about that. All the way from the micro all the way to the macro, all the way to the big, like all the way from the tiniest thing of like get up right now and go make that smoothie. Or like pass that McDonald's and eat the frozen food in your fridge.
Mm-hmm.
Like make your bed, you know what I mean? Like properly like clean your sink. Like, you know what I mean? Just whatever. Like do the extra step and see something through all the way up to all the way up to dream big.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want to going to college is a big dream that's just normalized.
Yep.
I mean, you spend all this money, you spend 4 years educating yourself without having a start, without starting your career.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? All the way to I want to be a millionaire, all the way to I want to be a successful TikToker,
Mm-hmm.
like all the way to I want to learn how to make videos when I've never touched a camera in my life.
That was me.
Like that's what I'm trying to say. That's do the hard thing. And did you do it because you were naive? Maybe.
Maybe. But
Now knowing what you know, you would still do it even if you weren't naive. If you went back,
yeah.
probably. So rely on naivety. If anything, accept it, welcome it,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what I mean. So what I'm trying to say is, do the hard thing all the way from do your dishes at night
Yep.
to dream of being a successful YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
Do the hard thing, man.
Yep.
That's it.
I
Sorry.
love that.
Said that.
Zach, Major, um, where can people find you?
Oh, yes. My main Instagram account is major period MBC, as in Minority Brothers Crew. Um, that's my just main page where I just kind of express myself. I make content on there. It's just like kind of arbitrary, involves colors, videos, dance, and talking, and that's all I can really say for sure. It's a lot of substance is all about me, and figuring things out, I guess. But then through that page you can find my dance page where I'm attempting to dance most days, if not every day. See where I'll go with that. I really like that page right now. I'm more active on there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really nice. And then eventually I'll actually be YouTubing regularly. I do one every I'll do like two at a time for a few weeks, every few months, every handful of months, bi-quarterly.
I had
So yeah.
I do want to say, because we already covered it, but I did have a question on here right at the end that says, when is activities coming back? I wrote that down to ask you about it.
All right. Well, I have to say this. I don't know. I don't know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like saying, oh, but eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, eventually. And hopefully sooner than later, because
Mm-hmm.
I have a framework for like the creative process of it all. The document, the
Yep.
cultivate, and the create thing, basically.
Nice.
It's like capture. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
capture, cultivate, create. It's
Mm-hmm.
basically it. But I have all these notes, I have all these threads, I have content that's written. I have things that people have responded to that I can just make videos about. So I don't know. I don't really know. Right now, I'm really built into this skill acquisition thing
Mm-hmm.
in work and outside of work. I'm changing behaviors, and I'm doing them all of what I'm doing right now, all the growth I'm focused on, all the skills I'm looking to acquire and am acquiring are all for the purpose of that, actually,
Yeah.
of expressing myself better through a medium of video mostly.
Mm-hmm.
That's that everything I'm doing, I'm only okay with spending my time doing them because I know they're going to benefit that in the long run. Granted, I'm starting to feel the pressure of time as a 30-year-old.
Yeah. Catches up
And
with you.
I don't know. I don't believe that it's ever too late, but I do feel that pressure. And I'm going to allow myself to feel that pressure because I want to start soon. I want to start ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so
Nice.
hopefully people are still interested by the time I start.
I'm sure they will be.
Mm,
Zach, thank you so much for
yeah.
joining me today. I appreciate this conversation. I think I'm on a podcast cleanse right now, but this session has given me the same brain tingles as listening to one usually does. And so I know that this is going to be this to me is a very special one. So thank you so much once again for coming on.
Appreciate you, sir. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your kind words and whatnot. I'm just gonna go ahead and poke a pin in my head so it doesn't get too big, and pop my own bubble there because you can't say such nice things. But I appreciate you for having me, and look forward to. Well, we have a lot of conversations to have off
Yeah,
of this. Some things I need to talk to you about. So,
of course.
so yeah, that'd be good.